game of their series against the Colorado Rockies. Fox Sports Ohio presents Cincinnati Reds baseball. This afternoon, it's the Reds against Jim Tracy and the Rockies. Hi, hello, and welcome to Cincinnati, everyone. Along with the crafty left-hander Chris Welch, I'm George Grant. We talk often about it, and the Reds, of course, are now a season-high games under 500, a season-high games behind first place in the Central Division. And, Chris, while early on, Reds pitching was a key, starting pitching especially, more often than not of late, they've been giving up too many home runs.
You're exactly right about that, George. And, of course, this ballpark gives up a lot of home runs just by its nature. The ball really flies here. But if you compare these two ball clubs, now, normally, and in years past, the Rockies would lead the world in giving up home runs. Out in Colorado, of course, the ball flies big time. But this year, the story's a little bit different. You see the Rockies have given up 87 home runs total, their pitching staff has, and the Reds have given up 40 more, actually 41 more. But the starters are where the big difference is. The Colorado Rockies starters have only given up 55 home runs, and the Red starters have given up 96 already. That's about one of the worst in the league right there. And so, George, somehow you've got to figure out a way to keep the ball down in this ballpark, try to go for ground balls more often than fly balls, because fly ball pitchers obviously come to Great American Ballpark and oftentimes struggle.
Don Gullett, the old pitching coach, said you need sinker ballers here. Larry Bernard, who helped put together the original pitching staff for the Rockies, said you need sinker ballers. That's what the Rockies have.
Well, so you look up a percentage and say, all right, what is the percentage of ground ball outs that pitchers around the league get? Now, these are the team ranks. This isn't an individual starter. So the Rockies this year lead all of Major League Baseball in having the most prolific ground ball pitchers out there. So that's the formula that they have gone with to try to keep the ball in the ballpark. The Reds are 27th in the major leagues in ground ball percentage. In other words, they've got a lot of fly ball pitchers on their staff, and maybe one reason why they're giving up 41 more home runs than the Colorado Rockies, a team that usually leads the planet in that category.
Well, trying to keep the ball on the planet and in the ballpark will be Bronson Arroyo. We'll have our Beep Beep Jeep pitching matchup coming up next. Reds and the Rockies. Jason Marquis going for Colorado next. of this three-game set, the Reds against the Rockies. Reds trying to win their second game of the homestand. They've lost 11 of their last 12. Trying to get out of that swoon will be Bronson Arroyo. His 22nd start of the year. Try to win his 11th against Jason Marquis in our beat-Jeep pitching matchup.
Well, a 12-game winner for Jason Marquis. He is among 5 players in the National League with that many wins, and you can see that he's only given up 9 home runs. It's been kind of a home run emphasis day for us so far, George, and I think that's important to note in this pitching matchup. Arroyo's given up 23. Jason Marquis, he's turned himself into quite a ground ball pitcher. He was a ground ball pitcher at one time when he was a member of the Atlanta Braves, but of course he even got better and better under the tutelage of Dave Duncan in St. Louis. He's also pitched for the Cubs, in which he pitched his last game against the Reds. That was last September. But you're going to see a lot of ground balls. Not much of a strikeout pitcher anymore. This guy works a downward plane and gets them to hit it in the ground.
Bronson Arroyo, on the other hand, trying to win his 11th. His earned run average now over 5. And Chris, he's got to get past the first inning.
Well, he's got to get past the first inning, and that's always been a bugaboo for him, but also for a lot of pitchers on this staff. You see the numbers on his last outing out there. The other thing that bothers you about Arroyo, on Sunday afternoons, the Reds have lost his last 4 Sundays. 0-4 on Sunday afternoon of his last 4 times out there. Maybe he got an early wake-up call today, and he'll be ready for that first inning and the remainder of the ball game.
Never on a Sunday? Maybe this Sunday for number 61, Bronson Arroyo, when we return a matinee from Great American Ballpark. Engineered beautifully by State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. By Dodge, grab life. By Just for Men, stay in the game with Just for Men hair color. And by Skyline Chili. You know it's Skyline time when you get that craving for Skyline 3-way or cheese conies. Reds fans have a craving for a win on this day. It's the Reds against the Rockies, final of the 3-game set. Temperature 73 degrees. Light wind. There's about a 30% chance of showers, but hopefully we'll dodge the bullet today on this cloudy day at Great American Ballpark. And Chris, you always need a win, but for Brandon Phillips and the rest of the Reds, this has been a very tough homestand. They've lost 11 of their last 12, and they'll turn to a guy, you mentioned it, Bronson's 0-4 in his last Sunday starts. They need a big start from him today.
They do need a big start, George, and this homestand, unfortunately, coming on the heels of a very bad road trip where they were swept in Los Angeles and did not fare too well in the city of Chicago either. So hopefully the Sunday afternoon will treat them well on a getaway day for the Colorado Rockies. They're on a 10-game road trip, and this is their second city. They lost the first 3 games that they played against the New York Mets before finally winning the last one, and now they've scored some runs here in the first 2 games of this series against the Reds. But it's up to Bronson Arroyo to try to stem the tide. And Arroyo, when he's not faced the Colorado Rockies since back in 2007, so it'll almost be like a brand new pitcher for him out there. They don't have any recollection of what he is like. And of course, we know, George, 2 things are very important for Arroyo to have a good game. One is he's got to be able to control that 2-seam fastball that he likes to run inside to right-handers. And then the obvious big pitch for him is that curveball. Throws it at different arm levels, sometimes sidearm, sometimes overhand. If he's got those 2 pitches working today, he'll give the Reds a good start.
Bronson trotted out from the dugout out to the mound, and this is the way he greeted the youngster who was there. Brandon Phillips came out. How about that for Brandon? He woke that young man up, signed his baseball, and for Brandon Phillips, he gave that man a thrill of a lifetime. Let's check your Rockies starting lineup for Jim Tracy, the Hamilton, Ohio native, honored on Friday night on Hamilton night here, and he's been honoring it the right way with 2 wins so far. Seth Smith will be in the leadoff spot for the 4th straight game. Clint Barmas bats second. Todd Helton will be in the number 3 spot today. Brad Hoppel hit 4th, followed by Troy Tulowitzki. Ian Stewart has nailed down the 3rd base job. Chris Iannetta, the catcher, will start his 2nd game of this 3-game series, and Carlos Gonzalez is back in the outfield. Jason Marquis, the pitcher, pretty good hitting pitcher too, bats in the 9th spot. Here is Bronson.
10-10 on the year. He has 1 game over 500 in his career with 81 wins against 80 losses. High earned run average, but he's had a couple of bad games where they've really gotten to him big time. But the Reds need him this afternoon.
Here's Seth in at 293, 9 homers and 29 knocked in. Smith, pretty good month of July. He hit .310, 9 straight starts to end the month of July, and he's back in the leadoff spot here for every game of this series. Got his average up to 293 now with 9 homers and 29 knocked in. That's bang foul down the first base line. First base coach for the Rockies, as usual, former major leaguer, outstanding hitter Glenn Allen Hill. First came up in Toronto, and across the infield from him in the 3rd base coach's box, what a competitor he was. Rich Dower, outstanding second baseman, went to the World Series for the Orioles in '79, then again in '83. Liner into left center, that'll drop for a hit. So Seth Smith stretches his hitting streak to 5 straight. He's now 6 for 16 during that stretch, and he's on with a leadoff hit here in the 1st inning. Here's your 4th defensive alignment for the Reds. Drew Sutton's in left, Lance Nix back in center, and Johnny Gomes. They've started all 3 games of this series. Scott Rowland, 2nd game as a Red at 3rd. Gonzalez, Phillips, and Votto across the infield, and Hannigan back behind the plate catching Bronson. That's your Reds defense. The Reds 13th in the league. Your 4 defensive alignment. Cincinnati with 67 errors on the season. Here's Barmas. Came up in 2005 as the odds-on favorite to win the Rookie of the Year honor at short until he broke his collarbone, sidelined him for the rest of 2005, and really didn't get back until prime physical shape until last year. Now he's taken over at second base, giving the Rockies a great combination at second and short. Showing bunt. It's a pretty good one. Rowland scoops, fires, and he got him. That's how you win 7 Gold Gloves. That's a pretty good bunt by Barmas, but Rowland the bare hand, Chris, and we've seen some guys around the league who do it good. Nobody does it better than this guy.
I'll tell you what, George, this looked like a base hit coming off the bat of Clem Barmas. It looks like that he maybe caught the Reds defense by surprise, but Rowland comes in, bare hands it, a perfect strike to first base, and gets him by a step. That's just a flat out nice play. The first ball that was hit to him last night was no easy play, and here he gets challenged early on and have to make that slow roller one.
Well, you know you get that night in and night out for the 7-time Gold Glove winner. So 2 first-inning gems, one last night and another one here tonight. Barmas looked back at third and said, how did he do that? He thought he had a base hit. So the runner does go to second. And here's Todd Helton. That was buttoned for a base hit. No sacrifice there. Helton in at 319. Today, the 12th anniversary, August the 2nd of '97, of his major league debut. Since then, he's compiled over 2,000 hits, 2,044 hits. Picked up his 501st career double yesterday. And against Bronson, pretty good numbers, 5 for 11 at .455. For Todd, now a 7-game hitting streak. And Chris, you can add up a lot of things that have gone right for the Rockies since Jim Tracy took over for Clint Hurdle. And some of it is just karma, I guess. Some of it is just guys finally started to play up to their capabilities. But having him in the lineup every day, having him healthy again, has given Jim Tracy not only a leader, but a guy who's contributed offensively.
Every contending ball club has a solid middle of the order, and you've got to have your number 3 guy have a good year. And Todd Helton is having himself a whale of a year. 60 runs batted in, only 11 home runs. The home run total is down from what it used to be. He hit as high as 49 home runs back in the early 2000s.
Down to short. Gonzalez has it. Helton will be retired. And the runner goes to third. So 2 outs and a runner at third, and that'll bring up Brad Hopp.
That's a little dead fish pitch that Bronson Arroyo throws, and this is something that Todd Helton may have good numbers against Arroyo, but he has not seen Arroyo and the variety of pitches he's throwing right now. 84 miles an hour, otherwise known as a dead fish or a BP fastball. You just kind of throw it. You don't try to throw it too hard. You let it sink at the very end, and if you throw it to the outside corner to a left-hander, it's going to be moving away from him too. Excellent pitch right there.
Here's Hopp in his career 1 for 4 against Bronson. Steps in at 313, 15 homers, 63 knocked in. The average for Brad sitting there at 313. Tries to check it, and he does. Your home plate umpire is Paul Nauert. Joe West, the crew chief, is down at first. Ed Rapuano at second, and Paul Schreiber, your third base umpire for this afternoon. Big swing, nothing to show for it on the 2-0 pitch, and it's 2-1.
Trying to get that fastball inside on him. He did a nice job. Hopp broke an 0 for 15 skid with a couple of hits last night. Coming into this series, the Rockies had really struggled to score runs. They had scored only 3 runs in the first 3 games against the Mets. All of those were losses, but they came into Great American Ballpark and got their offensive shoes back on.
Talk about the Reds struggling in Los Angeles. Cincinnati has won there since 2005. Same story for the Rockies. They have lost 22 of their last 25 games in New York, whether it was Shea Stadium or the new Citi Field. 3 balls, 1 strike. Slap down the left field line, curving. It will be a foul ball. By a matter of feet, the difference between a 3-2 count or a run-scoring 2-base hit for Hopp.
You know, if you're scouting the Rockies just from a tendency standpoint, only in the batter's box, watching how they make approaches. Even Todd Helton the other night took a 2-0 fastball, hit the other way for a little base hit over the shortstop. All of these hitters now seem to be so willing to try to hit the ball the other way, to stay late, to let that ball get deep on them before they commit themselves. And that's a lot tougher way to battle a pitcher when you do that.
Oh, Royal wanted that one. So did Hannigan. Neither one gets it. It's a walk. Bronson's first free pass. So it's first and third with 2 outs, and here comes Troy Tulowitzki.
A good location coming right inside, but remember the umpire is looking right over the shoulder, the right shoulder of that catcher. Unless that ball actually crosses that plate line, you're not going to get the benefit of a doubt at all. That's the best view an umpire has on any pitch, that inside fastball.
Well, here comes Troy. Chris mentioned the Rockies have struggled with the bats on this road trip. He's been the exception. He's 9 for 19 on the trip. The average back up to 268, 3 for 7 in this series. 19 home runs, and 14 of those home runs have come in the last almost 2 months. It's the first week of June. 8-game hitting streak for Tulowitzki, who's added some outstanding defense to go along with that. He steps out, checks Dower, rolls through some signs at third. The Santa Clara, California native digs back in. Way out in front, and it's 1-1. You evaluate players so many different ways, and in Tulowitzki's case, solid offensively and solid defensively, just across the board, just a baseball player. Now to short. Speaking of solid with the glove, so is Gonzalez. He takes care of that. A walk and a base hit, nothing to show for it. Bronson will take a breather. Drew Sutton comes to the plate. Drew Sutton back in the leadoff spot. Ryan Hannigan will move up to the number 2 spot. He comes in at 316. One of 2 Reds over 300 in this lineup. Joey Votto is the other. Brandon Phillips, Scott Rowland looking for his first hit back in the National League. Will bat in the number 5 spot. Johnny Gomes, who homered last night, behind him. Lance Nix, Gonzalez, and Arroyo. And here's the veteran right-hander who's become a darn good pitcher, Jason Marquis.
He certainly is, George. You know, he's always had that kind of bulldog mentality, and sometimes it's worked against him. Battling with pitching coaches, battling with pitching philosophies, but he has seemed to have found his own way into success with the Colorado Rockies this year. 20 starts, 2 complete games, and 12 wins.
Here's Drew. Sutton's in at 111. No homers and 2 knocked in. Drew had a double yesterday in the first inning and eventually scored on a ground out by Votto. There's a bunt down the line. Stewart will just put it in his pocket. That's a base hit for Drew Sutton. Second straight day. He leads off the bottom of the first with a hit. Yesterday a double, this time a single. Here's your fourth defensive alignment for Colorado. They're 6th in the league. They've committed 10 less errors than the Reds at 57. Smith, Gonzalez, hop across the outfield. Stewart, Tulowitzki, and Barmes, outstanding double play combo, and Helton over at first. Nobody's better at picking the ball out of the dirt than Helton. And Chris Iannetta, who's had back-to-back big years behind the plate, he'll catch Marquis. That's your forward defensive alignment. Here's Drew on after the base hit, and Ryan Hannigan comes to the plate. Hannigan elevated to the number 2 spot, and Chris, not a bad place for him when you look at what he does with the bat, how he handles the ball, punches it to the right side. He can hit behind a runner. If you need him, he can get a bunt down too. Not a bad spot for this catcher. Joey Votto to follow. Big hole on the right side for Hannigan. There goes the runner. hit and run, slap foul, and into the seats behind the first base dugout.
That's one reason why, George, it is a good spot for Ryan Hannigan. I think he continues to surprise and impress people with his ability to get on base. So you want to get your on base percentage guys towards the top of the lineup. In the absence of Willie Taveras with the Reds, you have Sutton in the leadoff spot, but with Hannigan, you can have him bunt. He's a good hit and run guy. He doesn't strike out very much, so he's normally a guy that you can put a play on. And Marquis is not the type of pitcher that you have a lot of swings and misses against. So good combination. We'll try it with 2 strikes, but it was a good idea.
And in at 316, he's second in the National League among rookies with that average, and number 1 in on-base percentage. He peaks down at Mark Berry, who's the Reds' third base coach as usual, for a sign. And as usual, down at first, Billy Hatcher for the Reds. Marquis to the stretch. Nubbed off the end of the bat. That'll get the runner to second. Marquis will tap Hannigan on the hip to get the out. So the Reds have a runner in scoring position, and here comes Joey Votto. He's been the Reds' #1 hitter with runners in scoring position all season long, in addition to being the #1 hitter overall.
Yeah, but even hitters as good as Joey Votto are prone to peaks and valleys as far as getting hot and then getting cold. And right now he's in somewhat of a cold slump. The last 6 ball games, he is only 4 for 21. That's a batting average of 190. So they need Joey Votto to start swinging the bat again for this offense to put some runs on the board.
And that's another reason why Dusty Baker's installed Scott Rowland and Brandon Phillips behind him in this lineup, with Phillips now behind him and then Rowland behind him. Hopefully that'll get him some more pitches to whack him. Dusty trying to end an 11 out of 12 swoon for the Reds. Overall, Votto in at 338. 2 balls, no strikes. Joey happy to get Scott Rowland into town, but also happy to get an update from Scott's mom and dad. They were up in Toronto and drove down for yesterday's ball game for Rowland's first game as a Red. Rowland, of course, a native of Jasper, Indiana. Mom and dad up in Toronto, drove all the way down. Joey, of course, a native of Toronto. Scott with his best buddy, his bat. That's a walk. 4-pitch walk to Votto, and here comes Brandon with runners at first and second.
That's a situational walk right there. You know, for a guy like Jason Marquis, he's got pretty decent control. So when he really needs or wants to throw a strike, he's going to go ahead and be able to do that. But he realizes that Joey Votto, without doubt, it's his biggest threat in this lineup, being a left-handed hitter against a right-handed pitcher, and the fact that he has watched him and charted him and figures that Votto can flat out hit, and that's the truth. So we'll take his chances with Brandon Phillips here, maybe try to throw a first pitch breaking ball and see if Brandon will roll over on it.
Here comes Brandon with Marquis to the stretch. 2 on and 1 out here in the first. That's a strike. Phillips in his career is 2 for 9 against Marquis, and you know that Jason would love a decision here because right behind him is Rowland. Rowland has 6 hits and 3 homers against Marquis in his career. That misses down and away, 1-1. Jim Tracy, it's been like a wedding reception for him all weekend long, starting on Friday night. Just a parade of family and friends coming to the park, coming to the clubhouse to say hello to Hamilton's favorite son. Well, what a job he's done since taking over for Clint Hurdle. And Chris, you would expect, I would hope, by the time the Reds head to Denver to play the Rockies the first week of September, you'd hope that he'd get a contract for next year. He sure deserves it.
Well, you know, he was labeled the interim manager at first when he took over for Clint Hurdle, and I guess until he gets a contract, that tag will stick. But he has certainly proved his worth to the Rockies right now. They are tied for the lead in wild card as we start the game today.
And he's got the best record in baseball since the first week of June. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jason Marquis is down, 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 right at the knees. When he misses, he's down around the shins. Rarely do you see him anymore miss up. He used to be kind of a power pitcher where he wanted to go out there and just throw gas as hard as he could, and it would take him right out of his game plan. But he's finally gotten the idea.
2 balls, 2 strikes. In the air to left. Going back, looking up is Smith, and he'll haul it in. The runners had gone halfway. They'll retreat to their bases. Phillips didn't get all of it, hit it towards the end of the bat, so he'll go back just that shy of what could have been a 3-run home run. Here's a nice round of applause for Scott Rowland. These 2 guys, former teammates with the Cardinals. Rowland steps in. We headed towards Scott Rowland country this past winter on the Reds Caravan. A lot of Scott Rowland fans were up in Indiana. Jasper. Mark Wagner's taken out his GPS and figured it out. 179 miles from Cincinnati. And that's closer than St. Louis was. St. Louis was about 200 miles, 197. He was a great basketball player in high school, a great baseball player too. No, he wasn't Mr. Basketball in Indiana. Mr. Baseball was pretty good though. There you see the 3 home runs against Marquis, his former teammate with the Cardinals. Right field in the air, going over, looking up, reaching up, hauling it in his hop. Rowland gives it a ride. Not good enough though. The Reds will strand 2 in the first. We're still scoreless. Your Elk and Elk storylines brought to you by Elk and Elk, serious lawyers for serious injuries. Here's Bronson. He'll face Stewart, Iannetta, and Gonzalez as we head to the top of the second. This one looped into right. They're having trouble finding it. Finally, Gomes does. Pointing up in the air was Brandon Phillips. He gave him the indication of where it was heading, and there's out number 1. Fair catch on the punt. Pleasant day for baseball, but boy, those 2-a-days for the Bengals down at Georgetown have to be a little bit steamy right about now.
Yeah, you know, George, though, but this isn't a normal July or August so far as temperatures go. So right now, those guys are catching a break.
Here's Iannetta, the Rhode Island native. 2 great players from just a stone's throw away from each other. Rocco Baldelli and Chris Iannetta. Iannetta from a great sports family in Rhode Island. His dad was a great star at the University of Rhode Island. The rest of the family athletically inclined too. Three-time All-Stater as a catcher. Went to North Carolina, brilliant college career, and he's made a believer out of a lot of people, not just in the Rockies organization, but around baseball. Very solid. Hit his 12th home run of the season on Friday night, now at 40 runs batted in, and an overall average of 226. And each of the last 3 years, his numbers have bumped up, and he's on a pace for a better than 20 home run season. Popped into short left. Going back is Gonzalez. The first step for Sutton was back, and he wasn't going to get there. Good reaction by Alex Gonzalez. He just kept tracking it and really was almost out in mid left field before he hauls it in.
Well, outfielders will tell you the day games are the most difficult days to play defense. And not just in this ballpark, but just about anywhere. A lot of white shirts in the crowd. The ball comes off the bat, you momentarily lose it. And then on a day like today, when you've got partial clouds in the area, you know, sometimes you look up, you see the sun. Sometimes you look up and it's just coming out of a cloud. So you're going to have everybody needing to help everybody else. Just point to where it is, and maybe you'll be able to locate it quicker.
Here's Carlos Gonzalez in at 241. Iannetta homered on Friday. So did this guy, only his second home run. Some puffy cumulus clouds surrounding the ballpark today rather. They expect some showers maybe tonight, but we should be okay this afternoon. Very pleasant day for baseball here in the Queen City. What a great weekend too. Macy's Music Festival, the Jazz Festival downtown Cincinnati this weekend. A lot of folks from around the Midwest in for that. Cincinnati Symphony at Riverbend, and we want to send our best wishes to Eric Kunzel, the director, battling his health difficulties, Chris, but what a treasure he's been to Cincinnati for so many years.
He's been here forever, George, covering more than a couple of generations of music lovers in the area.
That's a base hit into right by Gonzalez, and that'll bring up Marquis. Don't forget about him as a hitter too. Marquis, 5 career home runs, none this year. Native of New York. Marquis steps in, Arroyo to the stretch, and he'll chase the runner back. Bronson gave up a hit and a walk in the first, but dodged that bullet. Here, a 2-out base hit in the second. Would use him on a regular basis as a pinch hitter. In fact, he made the All-Star team this year for the Rockies. Went to St. Louis, and just in case, they'll label him as a possible pinch hitter in the All-Star game if they needed it. This time he grounds out, so the Rockies will strand a runner. They've stranded 3 through 2. We're still scoreless. for a dealer near you, visit buyatoyota.com. By JTM, food, family, and fun, it's JTM. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit us at geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. And by Jeep, you talk, we listen. It's a new day. Have fun out there in your beep beep Jeep. And we go to the bottom of 2. Johnny Gomes, Lance Nix, and Alex Gonzalez duo. Johnny's made the best of it. And there's a youngster with the right kind of attire. You got the sunblock, you got the hat, and you got a seat in Dad's lap. Anything better than that? A little ice cream to go with the popcorn would be good, I think. Last night, Gomes clubbed his 11th homer of the year. That gave the Reds, at that point, a 2-0 lead, but that would be the end of the offense for Cincinnati in a game they would lose 6-2. This hit pretty good to left. Line back, reaching up. Smith's got it. Right on the button. Smith one step onto the warning track will haul it in, and all Gomes can do is take a right turn and head back to the dugout. Time for our Geico quote of the day. It comes from Dusty Baker, and it's about last night's starter, Homer Bailey. Homer went 5 1/3, 7 hits, 5 runs, and while it was not perfect, Dusty said it's a work in progress, and he's getting better.
You know, he's still learning, and we just got to keep running him out there, and, you know, until he learns all the way. He's close. He's real close.
It's a long process, huh, Chris?
It is, George. You know, he pitched first couple of innings last night, looked very good, threw a lot of strikes, and then it seemed like when he got a runner on second base, he kind of sped up his delivery a little bit, kind of fell towards home before he had his legs under him. And I think he lost a lot on his fastball, also lost his command a little bit when you do that. And that's the kind of thing that you really have to be your own pitching coach out there when you're pitching in the major leagues. You know, your coach can help you and see what he says from the sidelines, but the bottom line is that you've got to control from pitch to pitch and delivery from delivery to delivery, you know, exactly what you're doing. Try to maintain a consistent tempo, and that's where I think where Homer went bad last night. Had one bad inning in the 4th where they scored 3 runs on him.
Damage control, that's something young pitchers learn step by step, not just win by win, but very often loss by loss. I mean, Tom Browning always said it. He learned a heck of a lot more from his losses than he ever learned from any of his wins, and hopefully you take that.
What they say about losses, if you don't learn from losses, you'll be doomed to repeat them.
Yeah. Here was Homer last night. Was that General Patton or was that General Eisenhower that said that? There's a bouncer back to the mound. Marquis has it. A quick flip to first, and there's 2 away. Those losses are a heck of a lot more important, huh? 2 away. Here comes Alex Gonzalez. Really, Chris, we talked a little bit about it with Walt Jocketty the other day when he joined us after the Scott Rowland trade, and you know, seemingly the Reds have very clearly solved the third base question for next year, and the question still remains for shortstop. This is the last year of Alex's contract. Might he be back? Might he sign a new contract? Might the Reds look internally? Might they look externally? And Walt Jocketty made it clear all of the above are playable right now.
Well, if they really thought, George, that you were going to look inside the organization for your replacement, the only major league ready shortstop, at least who is close right now, is on the ball club, and Paul Janisch. Wouldn't it stand to reason that you would see Janisch get more playing time here towards the back end of the season? I mean, you hardly remember that he's even on the ball club. That's how little playing time he's gotten. Every once in a while, a defensive switch in on a double switch, sometimes a pinch hitter.
I've seen a major difference in his offensive approach from last year to this year, better. But in Dusty Baker's view, the way things have been with a lack of offense and all the injuries, Alex Gonzalez, not only a great defender, but gives them a better offensive chance at short. 1, 2, 3. The Reds Gold Glove winner Brandon Phillips, courtesy of Cincinnati Bell. The Phillips bobblehead completes the collectible set of 4 that combine to form a special Great American Ballpark backdrop. For tickets, call 381-REDS or go to reds.com. And hope you join us this week. Coming up on Tuesday, it'll be a special day for Cincinnati baseball. The Moeller High School State Championship baseball team will be honored, and we're honored every day to have the former Moeller coach Mike Cameron, who's now taking a seat next to Ron Roth in the official scorer's booth right next to us. Congratulations to Moeller and their state championship. They'll be honored here on Tuesday. And Mike Cameron, always recognized as one of the brilliant coaches in high school baseball around the country. And Ron Roth, known more for his tutelage of you. There's Ron, and right next to him is Mike Cameron. There you go. Double dip duo.
You still go over to there, the scorer's booth, George, and still you feel the presence of Glenn Sample, the longtime official scorer for the Reds. Wonderful guy, former coach at University of Cincinnati, West High product and all. And those guys are doing a great job, there's no doubt, but you still miss Glenn. I mean, just coming to the ballpark and not seeing Glenn Sample, that there's just something missing here.
Nobody says that better than Ron Roth. They were like brothers, and to all of us. I mean, you and I, Chris, we walk into this booth and we would look to the left and see Glenn. We'd look to the right and see Nutsy. Wow, what a play by Gonzalez. Takes the short hop and turns it into a 6-3. On the scorecard, it looks like 6-3, but man, what hands.
Well, you get in front of the ball whenever you can. And even if he wanted to get not in front of the ball, he wouldn't have been able to. The ball was hit right at him and hit like a shot, a sinking line drive that he was able to glove cleanly and make the play on. That's a pretty solid left side of the infield defensively with Roland and Gonzalez.
It's Votto looking at him from over at first base saying, how'd you catch that?
You got a Gold Glover at second and Joey Votto always improving at first. So, defensively, this ball club is a lot better now. I find myself not holding my breath nearly as much when the balls hit down to the left side, especially to third base.
2 nights, 2 Gold Glove caliber plays from number 27. And that is the number that Scott Rowland has worn throughout his career, 27. He came to town yesterday, got his new uni, and was given the number that Drew Sutton had prior to that. I guess if you're a Reds fan, you think of 27 more than anything. You think of Jose Rijo. Sutton now wearing number 15 out and left. You give it up for the big guy, don't you?
Not only your uniform number, also your locker.
Yep.
Jay Bruce, I didn't realize Jay Bruce had the double locker in the clubhouse. He gave that up for Scott Rowland, as well he should have.
And gladly. What was the best stipend that you ever saw a player give another player for a number?
I saw Steve Garvey give Tim Flannery a suit
on the left field line.
In fact, he offered him. He said, I want that number 6, and I'll give you a suit in order for you to give it up to me. But Tim Flannery said, fine. I remember Flannery was a pretty avid surfer, so he said, you can buy me a suit, but I want a neoprene suit.
Flan's always had it working, didn't he?
Wants a wetsuit. Absolutely. And got it too.
And he got the good kind of wetsuit, not the $100 special. You're talking about the $400 or $500 special. Because he never wore the other kind of suits anyways.
No.
Have you ever seen Flannery in a suit? Ever?
No. Wetsuit is about it.
3 balls.
Looks like a turtle in a real suit.
He's the best. And we'll get to see Flans when we head to the West Coast. Looking forward to seeing him. See this beautiful new Toyota Tundra. If a Reds player hits the Tundra or the sign during today's game, John Little of Florence, Kentucky is going to win it. Register for your chance to win during an upcoming game at your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. On this next road trip, the Reds will head to San Francisco. What a job that Bruce Bochy's done and Flannery's done and that whole staff has done. I mean, no longer are they the big boppers led by Barry Bonds. Now they're doing it. And then Lincecum did it again last night. Tim Lincecum was brilliant last night again. Kane and Lincecum. Man. Big time pitching.
They scare people if they get into the postseason, no doubt, because you've got pretty good 1-2 combination in starting pitchers with the two you just mentioned. But the key for them, obviously, is to get there. Right now, both of them, the Rockies and the Giants, are trying to chase the Los Angeles Dodgers, but the Dodgers hold a 7-game lead in that division. They are just playing lights out baseball.
And Colorado and San Francisco right now are in a flat-footed tie for the wild card at 57 and 47, 1 game ahead of the Cubs, who come to town to Cincinnati this week. Bloop to left, it'll go foul. But you talk about no team in baseball really has gone through more of a transition than the Giants have. I mean, they were built clearly on power, clearly on Barry Bonds' power.
Yep.
And now they've become a better defensive team. They've become certainly a better pitching team.
Well, having Tim Lincecum every 5th day certainly makes you solid no matter what.
What a night last night for him.
8 innings of 7-hit, 8 strikeout baseball. Hey, that's not nearly what he did his last time on strikeout 15. All 7 hits that he gave up last night, all singles.
And Sanchez, the no-hit pitcher of this year, the first no-hitter of the year. We'll see how the rotation unfolds heading into the Reds' trip to San Francisco. Off the bat foul. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Todd Helton.
Well, they got Helton last time on that bat BP fastball, dead fish, whatever you want to call it. It's like a 2-seamer that he takes about 6 or 7 miles an hour off. And the idea is just to have that hitter roll over just a little bit, pull off of it just a hair, and it was a weak ground ball to shortstop. Last pitch, a good fastball. You wonder if he's setting him up for that same pitch right here. There it is.
Arroyo. Gonzalez. Yes, sirree. 60 for the Reds. 68th double play of the season. Arroyo gets what he needed, even with the walk. 1-2-3. Just select any sandwich on the everyday value menu. Choose to make it a foot long or a 6-inch fresh value meal with chips and a drink for only $5. Here's Bronson to lead it off as we go to the bottom of the 3rd. Arroyo in at 143 on the season. Second in the National League with 11 sacrifices this year. Boy, he's helped himself out plenty of times. These are 2 pitchers who know the value of bunting and help their teams out. Yeah, Jason Marquis will be reluctant to talk a lot about it because he certainly clashed swords with Dave Duncan, Chris, but you put Jason Marquis maybe begrudgingly in that list of players that Dave Duncan has helped to turn around a career. and helped to make them a whole lot of money too.
Well, he's had some pretty good pitching coaches. Remember when he was down in Atlanta, he had Leo Mazzoni down there, and Leo Mazzoni's helped a lot of pitchers himself, and he clashed swords with Mazzoni. Went to St. Louis, kind of had the same problem there, but you know, you learn a little bit at a time, and sometimes it takes guys longer than others to finally get it. And I think that you're exactly right. You've got to put him into that category. That Duncan has helped him. He certainly realizes the value of sinking the fastball and commanding it. You know, his fastball now is 88 miles an hour. There was a time that Marquis could throw 94, and he probably still can. But the ball straightens out, he elevates a little bit, and 94 is hitting speed. He has found success down around the hollow of the knees.
He could be on my team anytime. When you look at the innings he gives you every year, usually it's around 200 innings, and he's a competitor. I mean, yeah, he may once in a while clash with you from a personality standpoint, but you know, when I look back and evaluate him, I think of two particular games, two games where he pitched. There's a liner into center. That's a base hit for Drew Sutton. Once in St. Louis, another time in Chicago, after his bullpen was beat up and they were short on bullpenners or starters after lengthy games before, and he stayed in, gave up 8 runs one time, 10 runs another time, but gave his team the innings pitch that they needed to save the bullpen. That's a teammate.
Yeah.
Drew Sutton's 2 for 2, base hit to center, and here comes Ryan Hannigan. Hannigan dribble one back to the pitcher in the first inning. 1 out, 1 on. Hannigan to the plate. Votto on deck.
Well, Drew Sutton having a nice little run of it here in a abbreviated time as a leadoff hitter just last night and tonight. But you know, we got brought up to the major leagues with the Reds in early July, and just the last couple of days are the first 2 times he's had as many as 3 at bats in a game. He's always been reserve player, come in for a pinch hit appearance, maybe a defensive replacement, trying to find a little bit of a groove. He started the first game against the Rockies on Friday night, went 0 for 3, and that ball game went 1 for 4 yesterday with a double, and he's already picked up a couple of knocks today.
Took him 2 trips from Louisville to finally get his first hit. He had 2 hits coming into today, and he's got 2 hits today. So deuces are wild for Sutton this year.
2-1 count, perfect opportunity for a hit and run if you want to do that with 1 out. Hannigan's a good contact hitter, and he's peering down to Mark Berry to see if Dusty's put a sign on.
They did try to hit and run first time up, fouled off. Will they try it again? Runner going, swing and a miss. He'll be out by a mile. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That time it didn't. Caught stealing is Sutton. 2 away, and Hannigan now a 2-2 count.
Boy, tough pitch right here. It's a fastball that's low and away. You see Hannigan just trying to make contact right there. The easy out at second base. You know, this is almost a modified pitch out. Well, maybe not. That ball was actually over the strike zone. I really should have had somehow made contact with it there by Hannigan. I'm surprised he missed it. So just when you think you have all the pieces in place, you're sitting in the dugout, your Dusty Baker's thinking, all right, 2-1 count. He's going to throw a strike here. I got a good contact hitter at the plate. I've got a guy that's going to get a decent jump at first base. We'll put a hit and run on. Hannigan always makes contact, except then.
There's ball 4. And Sparky Anderson always said it. Good players make good managers. And when Tommy Lasorda won the Manager of the Year award, I remember his speech. He said very clearly, he said, take me, take Whitey Herzog, and whoever. Take any other manager in baseball and put us in a situation we put on a hit and run. If they execute, I look like a genius. If they don't, I look like a dummy. And the bottom line is, when the players execute, the managers look good. When they don't, the managers take the heat. I remember talking to Ray Miller once and asking him, the former pitching coach and manager, pitching coach of the Orioles when Rich Dower was there. if you ever would you write a book? He said, yeah, I've got a book and I got a title. And I said, what's the title? He says, Laurels and Lashes. Laurels because managers always get more laurels than they should get, and lashes because they always get more lashes than they should get too when things go wrong. I guess that's the chair that you sit in. There's Joey. Walked first time up on 4 straight pitches. This time he's in a hole 0-2. He waves at that. Strikeout number 2 for Marquis. The Reds get a runner, leave one stranded. Major League Baseball history to record exact Triple Crown numbers in consecutive seasons. The only player in MLB history to record exact Triple Crown numbers in consecutive seasons. Interesting question. Answer coming up, our Aflac trivia question. 2 Colorado Rocky players I remember who had very similar numbers heading towards possible Triple Crown years were Dante Bichette, Andres Galarraga, and in Todd Helton also one year when he led the league in hitting. That was back in the power era. Here's Brad Hopp to lead it off. And we look at Todd Helton now, Chris, he kind of reminds you he's adjusted the same way Scott Rowland has adjusted. Neither one of them really try to jerk the ball out of the ballpark as much as they did earlier in their career. They become more hit it where it's pitched hitters.
Well, they've had injuries too, George, to kind of inhibit what they can do as far as really trying to crank the ball. Of course, Scott Rowland has had a bad back for a long time. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Helton has had a bad back or bad neck.
Yep.
Almost a chronic-like condition for both of them. So you adjust, and true pros will figure out a way to get around it.
Here's Hopp, who walked in the first inning.
You talk to Jim Tracy about this young man at the plate, Brad Hopp. He says that he has the strongest hands of any player that he's ever met, at least in this league and for quite a while.
Arroyo gets over there, taps the bag one away.
Which is one reason why he is hitting in the leadoff or hitting in the number 4 hole, and has got some decent power numbers for a guy that doesn't appear all that big and strong. I mean, you stand him up next to Albert Pujols, and I mean, there's no question who's a bigger, stronger guy. But big strong hands makes him very dangerous at the plate.
So one away, and here comes Tulowitzki, who bounced out first time up. National League blessed with some great double play combos and two-way players, and I think the Rockies, with the way that Barmes has adjusted to second, now are on that list. I mean, their middle defense with those two guys, Tulowitzki and Barmes, outstanding. At second, Barmes is very similar to Brandon Phillips, a shortstop capability and a shortstop arm. Breaking ball drops in there for strike 1 and 2. Reds will travel to Denver on the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th of September. A 4-game series in Denver, part of a road trip where the Reds go from Atlanta to Denver and then on to Chicago for their final time to play the Cubs. Swing and a miss. Tulowitzki retired. He's 0 for 2 for Bronson Arroyo. That's strikeout number 1 on the afternoon, and here comes Ian Stewart.
Looks like Bronson's having one of those days where things are working right for him. He's got good command of his fastball. He's had a good release point on his breaking ball. He's had a lot of changeup curveballs that have been very effective for him. And in that last at bat to Tulowitzki, who changed speeds tremendously.
Stewart flied to right first time up. Wow. A rocket shot. He hit one in batting practice that went over the bullpen onto the walkway in the right field walkway, and this one almost duplicated that. I mean, his teammates just marveled at a lashing shot over the bullpen area, and this one almost duplicated that. He reaches up and looks up after he clubs his 18th home run. 1-0 Colorado.
Well, a 1-0 fastball that kind of sits right there. Now that's the kind of spot that left-handers dream about, getting a fastball down in the wheelhouse, about middle of the plate, a little bit above the thighs. Good hitting spot.
'18 on the year for Stewart. He's taken over third base because of a swing like that. Well, the Rockies with a 1-0 lead, and here comes Chris Iannetta, sitting on 12 homers. He had 18 last year, and heading towards a career year of run production. 65 runs batted in last year. He's on a pace to have more than that. And under this a bit into left field. Here comes Sutton with 2 away. He'll squeeze it, but a 2-out homer by Stewart gives the Rockies a 1-0 lead. baseball history to record exact Triple Crown numbers in consecutive seasons? Our answer today, Vinny Castilla, was part of the Blake Street Bombers in 95 and 97. Hit 304, 40 homers, and 113 in 16 major league seasons. And he's back with the Rockies again, Chris. He's there with them in spring training, and he'll show up for home games and some of the series on the road. Boy, you talk about, and we talked now about Gary Sheffield with bat speed. He had some kind of bat speed, didn't he?
Well, you could not get a high fastball by Vinny Castilla at any speed. I mean, he was a perfect Coors Field hit.
Yep.
You throw a ball above the waist to him, I mean, he hits a fly ball, and of course out there it travels way farther than anywhere else, and he collected a lot of home runs off of some high heaters.
Down to third and foul. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Brandon, who flied to left first time up. Great to have you with us. George Grand, Chris Welch up in the booth. Don't forget, Jim Day, Jeff DePoro will be by with Reds Live post game. Jesse Jackson and Mark Wagner joining us up here. Jim Strickler, man in the camera. There's a liner caught by Tulowitzki. Down in the truck, our producer Christian Roberts, our director Carl Patterson, Matt Sigafus dialing up some highlights for you, and Lauren White as well. One away, and here comes Scott Rowland. Hit one just in front of the warning track and right first time up with 2 on. Going to work with 1 out here in the 4th inning. Talking to Jim Tracy, he said, boy, this lineup looks a lot different than I thought it was going to look when we would come to Cincinnati, but it got a lot better this weekend with this guy, number 27, being inserted. Of course, Jim Tracy, as soon as he took over in June, he looked at the schedule to see when the Reds were coming to Cincinnati. A Hamilton, Ohio native, and he's made the best of it. Family and friends gathering around him before and after every game. And back then, it looked like the Reds would have a pretty potent lineup with the 10 that are on the disabled list. That's changed. But Rowland added a notch to the belt this weekend. Two balls, 2 strikes. Line sinking, but Hop is right there. Hit right on the button by Rowland, but right at the right fielder. 2 balls hit pretty well, nothing to show for it. 2 away. Here comes Johnny Gomes, and here's a peek at our Honda standings for the National League West. With the brilliant effort by Lincecum last night, San Francisco won. They're now 7 games back of the Dodgers. Colorado kept pace, 7 games back. That's the way the standings show up. The Reds will be heading to San Francisco on the next road trip. Giants are 10 games over 500 and 7 games back. And both of those teams are at the top of the wild card hunt. 57 and 47 tied in the National League. The Cubs are 1 back. Florida 3 back. Atlanta 4 back in the wild card hunt. We wondered, Chris, when we were out in Los Angeles, the way the Dodgers bullpen was being overworked. And Joe Torre worried about it too. Rick Honeycutt, and boy, they've sure bolstered their bullpen this past week. That does not preclude them going after another starter, but they've made it even tougher for Colorado and San Francisco.
Yeah, they have. They were missing a left-handed pitcher, and they got George Sherrill from the Orioles, who was a closer for the Orioles, and he should help that situation. Pretty good 1-2 punch here with Sherrill and Broxton.
Pretty good 1-2 pitch. Strikeout. Third for Marquis. 1-0 Colorado. Rocky and Seth Smith. Bronson Arroyo took Troy Tulowitzki to school for his first strikeout of the afternoon in the 4th inning. Chris, he did a number on him.
Well, he did, George. He started off with a curveball, then went with an inside fastball, and you know that you adjust the hitter in a number of different ways. One is you move the ball in and out, and the other way is you change speeds on him. And in that particular sequence, the 3 pitches that we saw, a curveball, fastball, then kind of a sidearm slurvy curveball. He gave him different arm angles, different speeds, and different locations. 3 very good pitches in a row for Arroyo. That's a pitcher's. That's what your approach is, and that's what you try to do in your scouting report. Some days you don't have the command to be able to do that. You try to go in with a fastball, you leave it out over the plate, and you never do get to the breaking ball that can put the guy away because he's hit a double down the line.
He's ahead 0-2 to Gonzalez, who kind of tweaks his wrist after an awkward swing. Gonzalez singled his first time up. Look out, that's up and in. By the way, update on the Reds walking wounded. Willie Taveras saying that left wrist still bothering him, and hopefully he'll be back in the lineup this week, but out of the lineup again today. One ball, 2 strikes. Scoreboard watching. Cardinals and Astros are underway in St. Louis, scoreless in the first. Arizona and the Mets, rain delay at brand new Citi Field. They've been pounded by bad weather again this weekend. Pittsburgh leads Washington 2-1 in the 4th. Everything else later on. And how about Andrew McCutchen last night? 3 home runs and a bunt hit, 4 for 5. He had 3 home runs in his career before last night. He snuck 2 over the fence and then hit a pretty good bopper. Diving at it is Phillips. He can't get it. That's rolling into center for a base hit. So Gonzalez is 2 for 2, a base hit to right and a base hit to center. And Matt Holliday had another big night last night too. 2 home runs for the Cardinals. Boy, Holliday and DeRosa each have caught fire in the last week plus. Started to play in the Central today. Cardinals a half-game lead over Chicago. Houston and Milwaukee 5.5 back, and the Reds 11 back now with the identical record as the Pirates, 45 and 58. Showing bunt. Arroyo will take the out at first. Marquis picks up his 6th sacrifice of the season, so leading 1-0. The runner in scoring position with 1 out. Here comes Seth Smith.
Now the Rockies are trying to play to the level of the ball game, meaning you got a tight ball game. Arroyo's throwing the ball well today, and you know they get that number 8 hitter on and Gonzalez, and they push him over to second base, just trying to score a run here or there. The way Marquis is pitching, he may make just a couple of runs hold up.
Marquis helps himself with the sacrifice. Out at second is Gonzalez with good speed. Here's Smith, 1 for 2, a single to left. No, these aren't the big boppers of the Blake Street Bombers that Don Baylor had when he was the manager, not the hitting coach in Colorado. But Chris, you watch this team take batting practice. They've got a plan, and they hit the ball hard. They hit line drives. They don't hit lofty fly balls the way the Blake Street Bombers did.
Well, they all seem to want to stay behind the ball, and I know that that's the newest way to teach hitting. I mean, everybody's doing it now. I mean, Ted Williams was a pull hitter, and he pulled just about everything up there, and he was a great hitter. But nowadays, you see more hitting coaches teaching to lay back longer, wait on the breaking ball, hit things the other way, and the Rockies have really taken this seriously, and they do that a lot.
Perfect feed from Votto to Arroyo, 2 away. Runner goes to third.
That was not all that easy either, because it was a lot longer throw for Votto than he normally has to make. Usually when a first baseman fields the ball, he's got to just field it and scoop it and just kind of flick it over to the catcher or the pitcher who's covering. But he's back there on the outfield grass. Get it to him early so the pitcher has a chance to find the bag.
Well done. Here's Barmes, robbed of a hit on a nice play by the third baseman Rowland, and walked in the third. Pop back, giving chase, hand again, he's got it. Leadoff hit and a sacrifice. Arroyo gets out of trouble. Reds still trail 1-0. Cincinnati Reds team during Signature Sunday on August the 16th. You can support the Reds Community Fund, have the chance to meet the team, and get a team signed ball, bat, or jersey. For more information on packages for Signature Sunday, here's a blue pin to center. Nix is retired on the fly ball. Visit Reds.com/community or call 513-765-7234. Nix 0 for 2. Bouncer back to the pitcher, and that fly ball to center. August the 16th. Big day for Reds fans. You can support the Reds Community Fund, and if you're lucky, you may get Jesse Jackson's autograph that day. That's his birthday. You finally turned 29 that day, right, Jesse? Jesse and our daughter Jamie celebrating that special day, August the 16th, together as birthdays. Here's Gonzalez, bounced to short first time up. Stewart, 2 away. You talk about oddities, but so far, Chris, Jason Marquis, his numbers for innings and pitches have been almost identical, odd and even, but he's got 2 quick outs here in the 5th.
He's going to ruin it in this inning, George. His pitch count so far in the day: 18 pitches first inning, 13 second inning, 18 pitches third inning, 13 in the 4th inning. So Bronson Arroyo is going to have to extend the inning a little bit for him to hit that magic number.
His 4th pitch of this inning.
Well, it just goes to show you that if you can hang around the big leagues long enough to finally realize what you need to do to start getting hitters out and make adjustments. I mean, Jason Marquis is a perfect example of that. Had a great arm when he first came up, through 94 miles an hour. And now he's working at 88 to 91 and making a very easy day of it.
7 pitches in this inning. Rockies still lead 1-0. nation's fastest 3G network, AT&T, your world delivered. Delivering for the Rockies so far, Ian Stewart, his 18th home run. That's the difference in the ball game right now. Run, 4 hits, no errors, 4 left for Colorado. No runs, 2 hits, no errors, 3 left for the Reds. And here comes Todd. Helton, 7-game hitting streak on the line, bounced to short and bounced into a 1-6-3 double play. Helton under contract through 2011. The Rockies have an option for 2012. A couple of years ago, they tried every which way to trade him. Now they're happy they didn't. Well, he was in the middle of all those back difficulties, but boy, he's bounced back, and you cannot underestimate the value of his presence in the lineup. On the 20th of this month, he'll turn 36. And he's playing like a 30-year-old right now. There's a shot into right. That's a base hit. 8-game hitting streak for Helton. Leadoff hit here in the 6th. And speaking of birthdays, you want to say a happy 5th birthday today to Ava Layton from her dad and our duet operator Alan and mom Stephanie. Happy birthday, Ava. Leadoff hitter on in the 6th, and here comes Brad Hopp. A walk in, a bounce out, 0 for 1. The Rockies coming in 78 stolen bases compared to the Reds 63. Fowler is their big stolen base threat with 24 on the year. Tulowitzki next on the list. But they'll run, especially of late in the last month or so. They've been running a little bit more, and they'll hit and run a little more too. Tulowitzki in the on-deck circle. There are a lot of Rockies that have had good second halves to this season, or I should say second quarter to the season. That's the reason why they've turned things around and put together a stretch where they're 37-15 since June the 4th, #1 in baseball. There's one guy, Chris, who is still searching for it, and that's Garrett Atkins, a career .298 hitter who we were impressed with over the years. He just has struggled big time this year.
Yeah, the Reds have been so impressed with him over the years that they've bantered his name about in trade talks and for many years now. Problem is that if you're not playing, you're not going to be able to get yourself out of that slump, and that's where Garrett Atkins finds himself right now on the pine.
Two guys who have been regulars in a similar state. That's Garrett Atkins and Billy Hall, of course, in Milwaukee. Always optioned down to AAA this past week. Two guys who were integral parts of their ball club. And speaking of Milwaukee, the Brewers added a familiar name to their outfield mix. Bounce down to second. Phillips will get one. The flip on to first. Not in time. 4-6 the fielder's choice. Helton erased, so Hopp is on with one out, and here comes Tulowitzki.
Well, not hit very hard, so you don't figure you're going to get the double play, but you do get the lead runner right there, and in a 1-0 ball game, that is very important. So the Reds pick up an out. They make sure a runner doesn't get in scoring position. Now it's up to Arroyo to try to take care of the tough hitting Tulowitzki.
1 out, 1 on. Here's Troy 0 for 2, a ground out and a strikeout. That aforementioned former Red is Corey Patterson.
Well, Corey just signed a deal. Was released by the Washington Nationals after hitting 133 with the Nationals. Spent some time down the minor leagues with them, but got picked up just yesterday by the Milwaukee Brewers and assigned down to their Nashville AAA affiliate. So there's a good chance we may see Corey Patterson again in this division.
No balls, 2 strikes to Tulowitzki. Tries to check it, and he does. American League scoreboard. Indians are leading Detroit 6-0 there in the 5th. Tampa Bay and Kansas City scoreless in the 4th. Anaheim, Minnesota tied at 1 in the 1st inning. Red Sox on the rebound. They picked up 3 games on the Yankees this week. They're now leading Baltimore 6-0 in the 3rd. And the Yankees are leading the White Sox in Chicago 3-0 in the 2nd. If the White Sox beat the Yankees today, it'll mark the first time that Chicago will have swept a 4-game series against the Yankees at home since August. Guess when? 1964. It was not the Boston Massacre, it was the Chi-Town Massacre yesterday, as the White Sox did a number on the Yankees in Chicago at the new Comiskey Park. Tom Brenneman there for that one, along with Mark Wagner. How long did that game go? 13 hours and 43 minutes, wasn't it? It seemed like it, didn't it? 2-2. Slapped into center for a base hit. So Tulowitzki finally got a pitch he could do something with. And he stretches his hitting streak to 9 straight.
Yeah, it looked like a pitch that really got away from Arroyo right there. And Tulowitzki picks on a high breaking ball on a 2-2 count and bangs it up the middle. But you can just kind of see the way these Rocky hitters are not up there really flailing big. I mean, that's a hanger right there. But they're trying to make contact on 2 strikes. They significantly cut down their approach, and it's very visible to see. And that's not an easy thing to adjust to when you're a pitcher, because you all of a sudden have those throwback kind of hitters where they're, you take 2 strikes and go to right. That seems to be a lost art.
Here's Stewart, who homered last time up. And speaking of anniversary dates, Chris, something the day that you remember, and I know I will too, for a long time. It was 30 years ago today that Thurman Munson passed away. The plane crash in Canton, Ohio, the Yankee captain. 1 ball, no strikes. That's wide. Boy, talk about tremendous competitors. He was one of the best. And you added up tools, and he didn't add up to the benches and the Fisks of that era, or Boone, or go down the list. But you put it all together, and he was a premier player who made his team better every time he took the field.
There's no doubt about it.
You came up in the Yankee organization when he was the man.
Well, it was just about a week or 2 before that plane crash. The Yankees came through Columbus, Ohio to play an exhibition game against the Columbus Clippers. And I got the pitch against Thurman in that, and I went 2-0 on him. And he stepped out of the batter's box. He knew it was an exhibition game. He wanted to get back on that plane and back onto their regularly scheduled Major League City. And he said, "Throw it in here, I'm hacking at it." So he politely grounded into a double play to end the inning. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. He didn't mince words. I remember at spring training, and of course, Thurman, of course, was the Yankee that took the greatest exception to Jim Bouton's book, Ball 4, that chronicled the off-field exploits of the old-time Yankees. I remember sitting by the batting cage. Here's the 3-1. Popped up out of play. And Jim Bouton came over, and he wanted to try to interview Thurman. And Thurman wanted no part of him. And Bouton's to my right, Thurman's to my left. And I'm saying, why am I standing here? And Jim was trying to talk to Thurman. And Thurman looked at me and he said, "George, would you tell the man standing next to you that he better move, or else he'll be taking my bat out of his ear in about the next 5 minutes." Jim was smart enough to move.
Well, Thurman meant it.
Yeah, you're not kidding. His wife Diana, one of the special people. Boy, she raised her kids brilliantly. There's a bouncer back over second. That's going to go into center. Rounding third, coming home with the second run, and the Rockies will lead this one. And the ball kicks away from Gonzalez, and that'll get another run in. You name it. It went wrong on that play. And the end result, as Alex Gonzalez took his eye away just for a moment to see where the runner was, the ball caroms away, another run scores, and it's 3-0. Here's another look.
You know, there just seems to be a sloppy play, an ugly play of some kind, a broken play on a daily or nightly basis for this ball club. And whether it's an outfielder misplaying a ball or an infielder just simply taking his eye off it right there, and I mean, here's a guy that can flat out pick it as well as anybody in the league, and it's just that's a mental error, and it costs the Reds a run, and they're down now by 3. Not only that, you erase the possibility of a double play by allowing the runner go to second base.
So it'll go as a base hit and an error on the shortstop that allowed the second run to score. So it's a base hit to make it 2-0. The error allows the third run to score, and it's 3-0.
It goes beyond what you see as far as runs and advancing runners.
Fly ball to left with one out at the warning track. Hauling it in is Drew Sutton. The runner going from second to third will get there.
A play like that, now that fly ball would have scored the run from third anyway, but a play like that seems to suck the life out of your team, the enthusiasm out of your ball club when you give up a run. And I'm not singling out Alex Gonzalez because he's played some pretty good defense, but still, those are the kind of plays that have on a daily basis frustrated Dusty Baker to the point where you try to shake things up and do whatever you can, but when you've got basic plays like that extend innings, very, very frustrating to watch. Of course, I don't have to tell people at home that because they get to watch it.
And I peeked down at Dusty Baker. Dusty just put his head down and shook his head, put his hands on his hips as the ball caromed away.
I mean, it was the same reaction he had last night when Carlos Fisher threw a pitch out and it hit the back screen. There's one of those a day, sometimes more than one.
So Gonzalez coming to the plate, and they will walk him intentionally. He's got 5 hits in the series, and he's burned the Reds already. They won't risk it happening again, and that'll bring up Marquis. And remember, Marquis, no slouch, 5 career home runs. So an intentional base on balls. That puts runners at first and third with 2 outs. And here comes Jason, who bounced out and sacrificed.
Well, not only that, he's a pretty good RBI guy, Jason Marquis. He has 8 of them this year. A .214 batting average, which isn't all that bad for a pitcher, but he can handle the bat in there.
And with runners in scoring position, 4 for 11. Slapped down a left field line and out of play for a strike. 100th pitch of the afternoon for Brunson.
You look at Marquis, I mean, he is right atop the leaderboard as far as runs batted in for a pitcher in the National League. Josh Johnson of Florida also, and of course, Looper's has been prolific at the plate. Zambrano is always on that list. So this guy can wheel the lumber a little bit.
Brunson trying to wriggle out of this jam. First and third, 2 away. Marquis at the plate. Marquis in any year is one of those candidates for Silver Slugger among pitchers. Good athlete, he'll put the bat on the ball. Dribbled out in front of the plate. It will be out. It hit his leg as he stepped in fair territory. So Brunson gets a break. The Reds, though, commit an error and allow a run to score. They trail it 3-0. Rowland, is that Gold Glove caliber? You bet it is. Scoop barehanded. Scott Rowland turns that potential base hit into an out at first. They did give Barmes a sacrifice on the play, and it took a brilliant play by Rowland to turn that. Coors Light Freeze Can brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. Rowland due up 5th this inning. Back to the top of the order as we go to the bottom of 6. 3 runs, 7 hits for the Rockies. No runs, 2 hits for the Reds. Colorado benefiting from a Cincinnati error for their 3rd run. The Reds' hits have come from Drew Sutton, 2 of them, and Sutton comes up for the 3rd time. The long bright spot offensively is Sutton with his 2 base hits. Now, we talked about Scott Rowland getting his jersey, his number 27. That came from Drew Sutton. You expect Rowland to get it, but when you're the low man on the totem pole, Drew Sutton knows you don't have a number until you make your name for yourself, do you?
You're one of the, if you're one of those happy to be here kind of guys,
Yeah.
you'll take whatever number they give you. As long as it comes with that big league meal money.
That's the big number that counts.
Well, you know what? It is nice to see him play a little bit because, you know, you get a guy over in a trade, and he came over from Houston in exchange for Jeff Keppinger, and, you know, you don't know much about him. And, you know, you see him a little bit here and there. You get a report from down in Louisville of what kind of player he is. He's a player that can play around infield and outfield. Until you see him play at the big league level, you really have no idea of how good he can be or whether he can help your ball club, and if he can help you, in what position he will help you. Utility player, can he play in the outfield somewhere? And you know, you don't want to see injuries to guys like Dickerson and so on that force you to make roster moves, but then in all, you still want to see guys play.
Swing and a miss. He's retired. Okay, Reds fans, who wore number 15 before Drew Sutton? And most of you sitting at home know the answer to that. Jerry Hairston. Jerry Hairston Jr. traded to the Yankees, and Jerry Hairston Jr. had a debut with the Yankees yesterday. He played well. And here's the second part of the trivia question. Who's the longest tenured Red, other than the obvious Jose Rijo, to wear number 27?
That sounds to me like it could be a trick question.
Bouncer down to short. Tulowitzki takes care of it. There's 2 away. It is.
Now,
and it comes from the. You would figure you'd get this either from Mark Wagner or Gary Schatz. It comes from Daddy Wags.
Okay, but Daddy Wags, you could probably begin to give it away with some hints like he's also known for brandishing a fine mustache.
That's right.
Okay. And a head larger than life.
That's right. Yes, he got it. He's raising his hand just like he did in school in the 6th grade. I got it. I got it.
And he might roam the stands during a game instead of sitting in the dugout.
It's Mr. Red, who wore 27. 2 away. Here's Joey. Votto walked and struck out 0 for 1 officially.
Hey, Reds fans, for a great tasting meal and an unbeatable value, pick up delicious JTM Philly Kits, burgers, or delicious hoagies at your favorite grocer. JTM, food, family, fun.
Center field. Gonzalez there, and the Reds go quietly in the 6th, 1, 2, 3, and trail at 3-0. Jason Marquis dueled in the early going. Arroyo getting some help from his defense. Marquis striking out 4, and it was scoreless. That's the way it stayed until the 4th inning. Then Ian Stewart ripped his 18th home run of the season. That made it 1-0 in the 4th. In the 6th, this bouncing ball off the bat of Troy Tulowitzki, and then Ian Stewart followed with a base hit to make it 2-0, and on an error by Gonzalez, the 3rd run scored on the error, and that's your scoreboard. 3 runs, 7 hits, no errors for the Rockies. No runs, 2 hits, and an error. The error producing a run for Cincinnati. Bronson back to work. Here's Seth Smith in the leadoff spot, trying to dodge the bat. His hand again, and he holds on. Smith is retired. He's 1 for 4. Smith, Barmes, Helton due up here in the 7th inning. Here's Clint. Tried to bunt his way on for a base hit in the 1st. Was credited with a sacrifice after a great play by Roland. Nabbed them at first by the slimmest of margins. He walked in the 3rd and popped out in the 5th. Todd Helton on deck. Low and inside for a ball. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Barmes. To the right side, down to the tarp area. It'll drop in foul territory. We'll try it again. 2 balls, 2 strikes. If you poll the people in the clubhouse of the Rockies and say who was the first half MVP, you really get a split decision. Some would say Jason Marquis for the way he pitched. Others would say the closer Houston Street, who was brilliant. Another would say Todd Helton, the way he came back, and maybe Brad Hopp was hitting over 300, and maybe it's the guy on the bench. But all of them were a reason for the Rockies turning things around and producing the best record in baseball since the 4th of June. Popped up, back goes Phillips. Who will get there? Brandon looking up, reaching up, got it. Nice play by the Gold Glover. Phillips hauls it in, 2 away.
Boy, it's nice to have a second baseman that can cover the kind of ground that Brandon Phillips can. I mean, he gets a good start on this. The outfielders kind of froze on this ball, and that's kind of in no man's land. But over his shoulder, makes a nice grab right there. Let's hope that Ocho Cinco's watching.
Wherever he may be.
Probably doing his TV show.
When are you going to get your reality show?
This is it.
This is it every day. Sometimes
it's more real than others.
Truth is stranger than fiction. Here's Helton. Speaking of football, what a great 2-sport athlete he was at Tennessee. Great quarterback. Still friends, of course, with Peyton Manning and a number of other NFLers. And he brings a football mentality to the baseball field. And there's a guy that you'd like to tailgate with at a Tennessee game. You know, he'd bring his deer meat with him. You wouldn't have to carry it.
That's nice to know. Why would I want to go to a Tennessee game? When I can only travel right up the road 90 miles to the Ohio State University. Or go right up to Clifton and watch the Bearcats play.
That's way high. Or you can go right here to Paul Brown, the Bengal game.
Absolutely. All of those are higher on the list, George, than heading down to see if Volunteers do it.
No, but
I have nothing against the Volunteers. I'm just a little more parochial.
Coming from St. X, we would expect you to be. A parochial school, that is. Time for God Bless America from Great American Ballpark. Let's go to PA announcer Joe Zierhusen.
Remove your hats and face the American flag.
A lucky fan the chance to win a set of 2 incredible Reds Dream Seats. While you're at the game, stop by at Furniture Fair Best Seats at Section 133 to register for your chance to win. Dream Seats next to the Euchre seats or next to Jesse? Those are the Dream Seats if you get sit next to Jesse Jackson for an afternoon. Dexter Fowler enters the game in center. He'll be in the #1 spot of the batting order. And Gonzalez, Carlos Gonzalez, moves to left. Here comes Brandon. Fly ball to left and a line drive to short, 0 for 2. Scott rolling on deck. For the Rockies, 3 runs, 7 hits off Bronson Arroyo. We're in the fourth spot of the batting order, and warming up in the bullpen is Arthur Rhodes for the Reds. Brandon leads the Reds in hits. He's sitting on 97, so 3 hits away from 100 for the season. That breaking ball drops in there, and it's 2-2. Pretty good right center field. Fowler over, won't get there. It's one hop off the wall. Phillips rounds second and will stay there. Brandon Phillips with his 17th two-base hit of the season.
Now, one of the few mistake pitches that Jason Marquis has made, and makes it above the waist right there with a breaking ball that Brandon Phillips hammers into the right center field gap. That ball slicing away from the center fielder, brand new center fielder Dexter Fowler. So the Reds get something going here as they lead off the bottom of the 7th. They've been really unable to solve the offerings of Marquis all day long. That is just the 3rd Reds hit.
First 2 by Drew Sutton, and here's Scott Rowland still looking for his first hit as a Red in 2 ball games. Hit the ball hard twice, a fly ball to the warning track, and then a line drive right at the right fielder hop. If you look at Rowland's hit chart, although he did homer against the Reds to left center field up in Toronto, they'll shade him straight away in center now, and they pull the right fielder towards the line. He very often will go to the right side. And straight away and left is the left fielder Gonzalez. Matt Daly and Franklin Morales. Daly the righty, Morales the lefty, loosening in the bullpen for Colorado. No balls, 2 strikes to Rowland. Down to third, but foul. Over in Toronto, he hit .320, had 8 homers and 43 knocked in for the Blue Jays. Oh boy, on the top of the helmet, and Scott Rowland goes down. Marquis looks up in disgust. You know it was in no way intentional, and Marquis, his head bowed, is on the mound, and Scott Rowland slowly rolls over. Hit right off the top of the helmet. He says, I'm all right, to Steve Ballman, who comes out to greet him first, and next is Dusty Baker.
I think it probably scared him more than anything, George. It kind of looked like a glancing blow. Now, that's easy for me to say. I'm sitting up here in the 3rd level. And that ball went right at the old dome, and he barely got the flesh part of his face and neck out of the way. They're going to take him out of the ball game. Look at this one get away.
Rowland, as he leaves, you see right above the left ear, he looks out at Marquis and waves. Marquis looked at him. Here's another look. Mom, Dad, his family are here, so you know what a moment it was for them. So Adam Rosales will come in and run for Scott. Scott will head to the dugout. As scary as it was for Rowland and his family, that's how scary it was for Jason Marquis too. Marquis kept his eyes riveted on Rowland, his former teammate and a guy who he supremely respects. So Rowland exits, Rosales takes his spot, and Dusty's happy that it appears that Scott's okay, but boy, you don't have many bullets left in your gun as it is, and to take Rowland's bat out of the lineup in a game you're trailing 3-0 in the 7th inning. Another deep breath. Well, the best threat for the Reds, 2 on, nobody out, and here comes Johnny Gomes, and you know he's got home run power. Line to left and struck out. In the air to right. Hop is there. Phillips tagging at second. He'll bluff, going nowhere. Got under it a little bit. The end result, a fly ball, and again Gomes flies out. He's 0 for 3. And that'll bring up Lance Nix.
So it looks like in this inning, and I know that Jason Marquis is only right around the 90 pitch mark right now, so you wouldn't think he's out of gas, but he's beginning to get the ball up a little bit. More fly balls coming off the bats of the Reds, starting with Votto in the last inning, and the hit by Phillips was above the waist. The one that got away and hit rolling in the head obviously was up, and that last pitch to Gomes was up. So unless he's changing his style, he's just getting the ball up a little bit.
Here's Lance. He bounced back to the pitcher and flied to center. For a guy that had not been much of a pinch hitter prior to this year. It's been a learning year for him. Off the end of the bat, foul. And he'll tell you that in these situations, he looks at it differently than he did a year ago. He leads the Reds in pinch hit at bats with 26. So in an RBI situation, he'll try to shorten up the swing, shorten up his approach. And Marquis nipping away at the outside corner with an off-speed pitch gets him to foul the first one off. Phillips, great speed at second, dancing off the bag. Rosales off first. This one hit a ton. Yes, sirree. That's low and gone. Brand new ball game. We're tied at 3.
First 6 innings, Jason Marquis barely threw a ball above the knees, but that one in this inning, like so many others, have come around thigh high, and Lance Nix punishes that ball on a line drive into the sun-drenched bleachers in right field, and this baby is all tied up.
That gets them on their feet here at Great American. We're knotted at 3. The 9th homer for Nix. Runs batted in number 25, 26, and 27, and here comes Gonzalez.
Keeping his head right on that ball, and you see just the power that Lance Nix is able to deliver. He is one strong human being, and when he centers it, it goes a long way.
Big swing from number 17, and the Reds are in a new ball game, tied at 3. Pitch location, yes, and you wonder if Marquis might have been a little unnerved after hitting Roland on the head. Got in on him, fouled off. And for the first time today, Chris, you look at Marquis, he's had that blister problems, middle finger of his right hand. He pushed back his last start. He showed us the blister. It's healed over. And he's got a bag full of medications that he's using to try to control it. But now as he hits the 96 pitch mark, it may be coming a factor again.
Well, it could be, George. It could be just the fact that a lot of sinker ball pitchers go and they begin to get tired. Sometimes you get more sink, but they sometimes elevate the ball a little bit. And the difference for Marquis being effective and not effective may be a matter of only 3 or 4 inches in the height of the pitch.
Down to third, Stewart.
Marquis said that blister problem did not affect him at all his last time out. That was a loss to the New York Mets. He got shut out in that ball game 4-0. but that game was his 5th consecutive quality start. And you can make it 6 of them in a row today, as he has gone down 6 2/3, giving up just 3 runs.
Meanwhile, Bronson Arroyo has gone 7 innings, also giving up 3 runs for quality start. He will exit, and Vladimir Valentin will pinch hit for him here in the 7th. So at the very least, Arroyo off the hook, hoping that the Reds can rally, put another one on, and make him the pitcher of record on the plus side. Down to short, backhanded by Tulowitzki. There's your final out of the inning, but the Reds do some business. A double by Phillips. Rolling hit by a pitch, and ba-boom! Lance Nick's 9th homer. We're tied at 3. 3 runs, 4 hits for the Reds. Bronson Arroyo's day is done. Adam Rosales takes over at third after coming in to pinch run for Scott Rowland. For Bronson, he goes 7 innings, allows 7 hits, 3 runs, 3 walks, 1 of them intentional, and 1 strikeout. 114 pitches, 72 of them for strikes. He'll give away to the veteran lefty Arthur Rhodes.
Now this left-hander's having a pretty good run of it. In fact, there were a lot of teams interested in acquiring left-handed pitching, and Arthur Rhodes was the top of a lot of teams' lists. Although the Reds decided to keep him, signed this year and next. Rhodes has got an earned run average right around 2.
Now, there's no secret that Arthur Rhodes' name mentioned in a number of trade possibilities heading towards the July 31st trading deadline, and you wouldn't think that would diminish at all as we go to August. Back when we were in Los Angeles, it was pretty clear at that time that the Dodgers had on their short list Arthur Rhodes as one of the lefties they were looking at. Of course, they did make a deal. Arthur was not included in that, but there are a number of teams that covet him as a guy that can help solidify the 7th and 8th innings in a pennant run. Boy, he sure helped solidify the Reds bullpen. He and David Weathers with their leadership and the way they pitch too. Brad Hopp against left-handers in his career in a .247. Overall this year, .313 coming in. Swing and a miss. He waves at that. And Arthur has the ability to make a left-hander look like that, even though it's a pretty good hitting left-hander.
Well, everything that Arthur Rhodes throws cuts away from left-handers and goes into righties. He's got a 4-seam fastball, but that's a hard slider right there that he starts away, and it just continues to break away.
So Hop 1 for 4, and here comes Tulowitzki. Rather, Hop is 0 for 3. Tulowitzki 1 for 3 coming in. Tulowitzki had a base hit in the 6th inning. The second hit in that inning stretched his hitting streak to 9 straight. That set the stage for Stewart, who's done most of the damage today, who's in the on-deck circle. Stewart homered in the 4th to make it 1-0, then singled in the 6th to make it 2-0, and when the return throw from Lance Nix glanced off the glove of Gonzalez, the 3rd run scored and the Rockies led 3-0. To play down the right field line, 1-2. Spoiled a pretty good pitch one more time. Just missing inside. You kept all the uniforms from the teams you played for?
I wish I had. You know, I think back in those days, George, they were recycling them. I mean, if they weren't giving them to other major leaguers, they were sending them on down the line to the minor leagues.
All right field towards the corner, going back. Gomes looking up. Forget it. That's into the bullpen. That's the kind of power that Troy Tulowitzki has. He spoiled an almost perfect pitch by Arthur Rhodes, flicked it away for a foul ball, and then delivers his 2nd hit of the game, his 20th home run, so he reaches the 20 home run plateau with this swing.
Well, I know that he's got some talent, but boy, Don Baylor has done an excellent job with this team, just with their approach. We have remarked the entire series about how the Rockies want to hit the ball the other way, and with power right there as Tulowitzki goes deep. Hoppage. I don't think you can put a swing on a baseball that can excite your hitting coach any more than an opposite field home run. I mean, you work on it, you hit off the tee, you do your soft toss, every other drill you can possibly do. He harps on you while you're in the batter's cage taking BP before the game.
I mean, now Don Baylor's been around as a hitting coach and a manager. Here's a big swing by Stewart. He pops it up, Gonzalez under it, and I mean, talking to him, he's like a rookie coach or a rookie player. He's so elated to work with this group of young hitters. He said every one of them is a good kid. Every one of them wants to learn, and every one of them is willing to work.
That's the same thing that Jim Tracy says about his ball club. The reason why he's having so much fun this year. Of course, they're winning baseball right now. They're tied for the wild card lead, but you know, he says, hey, these guys just want to come out every day and work hard. And you remarked before the game off the air, George, about how this team was out here taking batting practice. They're on the 2nd city of a 10-game road trip. They played a doubleheader on Thursday. They play Friday, Saturday, and here they are on Sunday morning taking batting practice, where a lot of teams take the day off on Sundays, like the Reds today took the day off. The Rockies are out here hitting.
1 ball, no strikes to the catcher Iannetta, who's 0 for 3, 3 fly balls to left.
Now, don't get me wrong. Don't think that just because the Reds didn't take batting practice that they don't care. Sometimes you need a break, a mental break as much as a physical break. 2 balls, no strikes to Iannetta.
This one looped into right. That's going to drop for a hit. So Chris has his first hit. Don't forget, you can catch Bearcats Classics and relive last year's Big East Championship season by watching a great game from 2008. Monday at noon on your home for the Bearcats. Fox Sports Ohio relive the game against the University of Pittsburgh. That's Monday at noon on Fox Sports Ohio. Here comes Carlos Gonzalez. 2 singles and intentionally walked back in the 6th. Showing bunt, fouls it off for strike 1. Former Indian Rafael Betancourt loosening in the bullpen for Colorado. Breaking ball down and away. This one blooped towards left. Will anybody get there? No, it's going to drop for a hit. And nobody on third, so the runner advances to third. It'll be first and third.
Nothing you can do about the base hit right here. A little bloop job over the third baseman's head in the shallow left. But if Arthur Rhodes is thinking maybe ought to be heading over there to third base, because that vacancy, as you see right there, is the reason why they're able to go first to third as Chris Iannetta takes advantage.
So Iannetta takes the extra base. It's first and third. Ryan Spilborghs will come in to pinch hit for Jason Marquis in the 9th spot in the order. So Marquis' night done. 7 innings all told. Only 4 hits, 3 runs, all of them earned. 2 walks and 4 strikeouts for Jason. And now, after giving up the 3-run lead, he still stands to be the winner if the Rockies can hold this edge. So first and third with 2 away. The bench for the Rockies today: Torrealba, Atkins, and Spilborghs, the 3 right-handers. Dexter Fowler already into the game, the switch hitter, and Omar Quintanilla, the lone left-handed bat, left on the bench. Brian sharing time out in the outfield and center field with Fowler and Gonzalez. Pinch hitting this year. He's 3 for 16 as a pinch hitter. Trying to sneak it in under his hands, just misses, and it's 2-1. Another 3-hit day for Gonzalez. 6 hits in the series for Carlos against the Reds. There's a strike, 2-2. Off the plate, Votto will glove it. He'll tap the bag, but the damage done. Tulowitzki's homer down the right field line, his 20th of the season, gives the Rockies a 1-run lead. shoulder, a reverse basket catch, and he robs Tulowitzki of a potential hit. Tulowitzki has the big hit of the game so far, a go-ahead home run, and it's a 4-3 lead. Here comes a new pitcher for Colorado, Jason Marquis. 7 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, 4 strikeouts, and 2 walks. Here comes the former Indian, Rafael Betancourt.
Now, the 4th appearance was yesterday for Betancourt. He is working on number 5 right now. Overall, just 3.2 innings for the Colorado Rockies after appearing in 29 games for the Indians. He spent the entire previous part of his career in the American League with the Indians, coming up with the Tribe in 2003.
Over 300 games as an Indian, and talking to him on Friday night when he came to town, he had just gotten off the phone with Victor Martinez. He and Victor spent their careers with Cleveland. He said it always is tough. Your first trade is tough. The fans, yes, but the teammates that you spent so much time with. And he said he talked to Victor, and he said Victor took it very hard, but Victor didn't miss a beat. He got a hit last night for the Red Sox, and he's in the middle of a pennant race just as Rafael Betancourt is. 1 ball, 1 strike. Here's Drew. Sutton reached on an infield hit, single to center, 2 for 3. Reds have had only 4 hits, 2 hits by Sutton, a double by Phillips to lead off the 7th, and then the home run by Nix in the 7th after Rolen was hit by a pitch. So they've made the most out of a limited offense today. They had tied it at 3. Now they trail by 1, 4-3. And oh, by the way, Victor had a big hit, run scoring hit last night for the Red Sox. Has 3 hits already today. He's 3 for 4 and 3 runs batted in. Wherever you put him, he's going to hit, huh?
Yeah, he can rake.
Man, certainly changes the dynamics of the Red Sox. And you would imagine, I mean, he's going to be in there every day. He'll either be behind the plate at first base or as the designated hitter. That means that Kevin Youkilis will probably play more at third, depending on the health of Mike Lowell. I would imagine, too, that Jason Varitek can't be too pleased, because it's probably going to take some at-bats from him.
Yeah, you know what? If you're going to play him at first base, you know you've also got the Big Papi issue. So Terry Francona is the one who's going to have to figure out how to dole out the playing time.
Strikeout for Betancourt. Sutton strikes out for the 2nd straight time. He's 2 for 4. Now here comes Hannigan, who bounced out, walked, and bounced out. Trying to get on for Joey Votto behind him. And again, if you joined us late, Scott Rolen left the game after being hit in the head on a pitch by Jason Marquis. He appeared to say to Steve Ballman and then to Dusty Baker, "I'm okay," and Dusty appeared to tell him, "Well, we're not taking any chances. You're coming out." Adam Rosales is now hitting in the 5th spot, a rolling spot. If you missed it, just joining us, here's what happened. A clunk right on the helmet above the left ear. Look at Jason Marquis. I mean, remember, those 2 guys were teammates, close friends, respecting each other as players, and he kept peering in at Rolen and Scott as he left, looked out at Marquis and waved to him as if to say, "I'm okay." And Chris, you're a pitcher. I mean, you know, you can't think about it, but when you that does happen, it certainly reverberates through your being.
Yeah, it does. I mean, you hope that nobody wants to hurt an opponent, and you know, sometimes the pitch gets away, and you just hope that if it does hit him, especially in the head area, that he's going to be all right. Looks like Rolen will be.
2 balls, 1 strike to Hannigan. Right now, Marquis, the pitcher of record on the winning side. as the Tulowitzki homer, with him still in the game, gives him the 4-3 lead. On the losing side, after Bronson Arroyo exited in a 3-3 game, Arthur Rhodes, the pitcher record on the downside. Here's a 2-2. Down low will go full, 3 balls and 2 strikes. Betancourt's pitched well against the Reds throughout his career. Got a 1-0 record and an ERA of 2.8. In 16 innings, he's allowed only 13 hits. Popped in the air to the right side. In comes Hop. With 1 away, he'll squeeze it, 2 outs. And that'll bring up Joey Votto. Votto today walked, struck out, and flied to center. Here comes Jim Tracy. That'll be it for Betancourt. Even though Betancourt got Votto out the other day, he's going to bring in a lefty while the pitching change takes place. He'll take time out for these messages. You're watching Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. Our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. $1 million. Here's Joe Beimel, who'll come in for the 2nd consecutive day. He'll face Joey Votto. Votto will walk, a strikeout, and a fly ball out. Beimel struck out Votto looking last night, and the one time he's faced him. For his career, Joey 0 for 2 against him, facing him once prior to this series. Beimel just joining the Rockies after his acquisition. Breaking ball misses. 1 ball, 1 strike. Brandon Phillips on deck. Be in the seats to the left side. Good crowd on hand this Sunday in Cincinnati. 31,142. Watch Bronson Arroyo go 7 innings, allow 7 hits and 3 runs. The Reds rallied to tie it at 3 on a Lance Nix home run, but then a Troy Tulowitzki home run has given the Rockies a 4-3 lead. Center field hit pretty good. Fowler going back, looking up. It's going to be gone. It's gone. Joey Votto dials deep, and we got another new game. We're tied at 4.
Joey Votto may think that his swing is back after scuffling for the last week. His second home run in 7 days, and he gets it off a tough left-hander there in Joe Beimel. Beimel struck him out on a fastball last night. This time Votto turns him around and takes him right out the front door.
Back-to-back days for homers for Votto. For Joey, that's his 17th. Brandon Phillips waiting to go to the plate, and there'll be another pitching change. While the pitching change takes place, we'll take time out for these messages. You're watching Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. He went to school last night after being struck out by Beimel. He gets him today, Chris.
Well, he certainly does. Beimel gets a little fastball in the inner part of the plate, and taking him right out the front door to dead center field is Joey Votto. That ball barely getting out of here. There was a question as to whether it was going to just be an extra base hit or a homer, but that one ties the ball game up, and the Reds have come all the way back again.
Well, last night Votto went back-to-back first, then Phillips followed. Can it happen again? Here's Matt Daly, the new pitcher, his 30th game facing Brandon. Brandon doubled his last time up, 1 for 3. Votto's home run, his 17th. Brandon one behind him at 16. And he's trying for 17 right there. The Reds have made the most out of the few hits they've had. 4 runs, 5 hits for Cincinnati. 4 runs, 10 hits for Colorado. The Rockies have stranded 8 on this day. But a 3-run homer from Lance Nix and the homer from Votto here have accounted for 4 runs. and a miss. Phillips punched out, but not before Joey Votto evens this one up. We're tied at 4 going to the 9th. Kids Club at your local Bob Evans restaurants. Members can get the chance to participate in the Bob Evans Heads Run on before every Sunday game and receive an autograph from one of their favorite Reds players. It's the Reds Heads Kids Club right here at Great American Ballpark. Oh, the Reds trying to get ahead on this day. They've tied it twice, and we're back in a tie again. Tied at 4 going to the 9th inning. For Cincinnati, the new pitcher will be Coco Cordero as we go to the 9th. Top of the order due up. It'll be Dexter Fowler, who came into the game. He's in the leadoff spot, followed by Barmes and Helton. '42nd appearance for Coco. That's a strike. For the Reds closer, like Marquis, he was an all-star, and for Coco for the 3rd time, Texas once, Milwaukee once, and now the Reds. Last 11 appearances has allowed only 1 run on 3 hits. 23 saves on the season. This, of course, a non-save situation. One ball, 2 strikes.
Interesting story on Dexter Fowler. There's the earned run average leaders in relief in the National League, and Francisco Cordero is right there. Fowler's a young guy, George, and you mentioned his athleticism. Coming out of high school and outside of Atlanta in Alpharetta, Georgia in 2004. He was a 14th round draft pick, but all the scouts have projected him as a 1st round pick. He signed a letter of intent to go to Miami, or University of Miami in Miami, Florida. That's why he dropped down on the list of the 14th. As it turned out, he ended up signing with the Rockies after all for a bonus that would have been about 1st round pick money, right around $900,000. But he did a club friendly kind of signing where they were able to split that bonus paid up over a course of 5 years.
Hook count 3-2. That slap foul and out of play. Look out. And it was the quick development of Dexter Fowler that was one of the contributing factors in the Colorado decision. not to bring back Willie Taveras. That opened the door for the Reds to sign Taveras. That's a call strike. Strikeout number one, out number one here in the ninth inning for Coco.
Now, we've talked about it before, how Coco Cordero, like a lot of closers, stay away from hitters late in the ball game. And he threads the needle on the outside corner there, punching out Fowler looking.
One away, here comes Barmes. 0 for 3 and a walk for Clint today. Hop back and out of play. That's a strike. This has been, of course, a homecoming for Jim Tracy, who's from Hamilton, Ohio. It's been a homecoming for Clint, too. He comes from Vincennes, Indiana. Had a whole host of family and friends coming down here for the weekend. Drove down from Indiana. And it was the Clint Barmes fan club outside the ballpark waiting for him last night. Good to see him healthy again and back, Chris. Boy, he was so impressive that rookie year, and he very probably would have been the rookie of the year in 2005 had he not been injured. He's battled all the way back. This time, no match for Cordero. Swing and a miss. 2 away.
Well, not a safe situation for Francisco, but he's pitching like it is. Dealing right there a little bit of a changeup that just gets Barmes way out ahead, and it kind of floats right in there on him.
Here's Todd Helton. Helton today stretched his hitting streak to 8 straight with a base hit in the 6th inning. He led off the 6th with a hit. Tulowitzki got a hit. Then Stewart knocked in a run, and another run scored when the relay throw caromed off the glove of Gonzalez. A 2-run scored, and at that point the Rockies led 3-0. 3-run home run from Lance Nix tied it. Tulowitzki's home run gave the Rockies the lead. Then the home run by Votto has tied it again. To the right side, the Gold Glover has it, and Helton's retired. A 1-2 through for Coco. Last roundup time for the Reds. Rosales will lead it off. By the Ray Hamilton Company, Cincinnati's office movers keep businesses on the move. That's the way you do it with the Ray Hamilton Company. And by the Basement Guys. Enter to win the free basement giveaway from the Basement Guys. To enter, go to thebasementguys.com. Rally taps around the ballpark here at Great American Ballpark. 31,142 paid to see this afternoon's encounter. And we go to the bottom of 9. Here's Adam Rosales to lead it off in the number 5 spot. Rosales came in to pinch run for Scott Rowland after he was hit in the helmet on a pitch from Jason Marquis. He left under his own power, waving to Marquis as if to signal he was okay. No further report from the Reds clubhouse since he exited the game. It appeared as if he was trying to talk his way into staying in, but Dusty Baker didn't want to take any chances. So here comes Adam for his first at bat. Rosales steps in at 2:08, 3 homers, 17 knocked in. Daly's still in there on the mound. He got the final out, striking out Phillips in the 8th inning.
Boy, got a lot of action on his fastball. I mean, his ball just going all over the place. Not an especially hard thrower, right around high 80s, low 90s, but got a sinking fastball that goes inside to right-handers. Looks like he cuts the ball up and away from him. And a very odd start to his delivery. Almost like he's in a batting stance rather than a pitching position. But after he gets it going, he becomes much more fundamentally sound. His direction towards home is good. He uses his legs nicely and throws from a low arm angle that really can neutralize righties.
Loud off, count stays at 2-2. Adam trying to find a way to get on and give the Reds a chance to walk off with one here. Off the end of the bat, down to Barmes. Quick flip, one away. And here comes Johnny Gomes. Gomes lined to left, struck out and flying to right. One of the longest homestands of the year, and the Reds are trying to put a little oomph in it as they head into the Chicago series. They've lost 11 of their last 12. And with a good crowd on hand, wouldn't it be nice to send them home with a smile on this Sunday afternoon? It's been a while since we had a walk-off. Here's Johnny. 11 homers for Gomes. Number 11 came last night, gave the Reds a 2-0 lead in the 2nd inning. The Reds would eventually lose that game 6-2. 1 ball, 1 strike. He has the potential to end it with 1 swing. Locked him up, taking a little bit off with that breaking ball, and it's 1-2. It would appear, Chris, that it would be tough to pick up the ball on Daly with his motion.
Yeah, especially from the right-handed side of the batter's box.
Right. Off the end of the bat, that's going to stay in the park. Gonzalez there, he's got it 2 away.
Now take a look at the delivery of Matt Daly, a right-hander that really sets up kind of funny, but he's got himself all closed off towards the third baseline. But boy, when he does finally get going towards home, he's going straight towards his target. Nice follow through right there. You know, other than his odd setup, everything he does else is very conventional.
That's the last pitch you'll see from him. Jim Tracy out. Franklin Morales had been loosening in the bullpen, so they'll bring the lefty in to face Lance Nix. Nix has already homered today. While the pitching change takes place, they'll take time out for these messages. You're watching Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. Jim Tracy, the left-hander. Franklin Morales will come in and face Lance Nix. Nix is 1 for 3. The biggest hit of the day for the Reds, a 3-run homer that tied the game in the 7th. Here's Morales against Nix. Here's another look, Chris, at number 9 for Nix.
Well, he had a laser beam with a couple of runners on base. That ball goes into the bleachers out in right field, tied the game up at 3 apiece. One of the few mistakes that the starter Jason Marquis made all day long.
Trying to double dip with that swing. Morales inherited a 2-on 2-out situation in the 7th on Friday, retired the only batter he faced, and wound up with the victory. In the air to center field. It's hit a mile in the air, but not deep enough. Nix just missed hitting that one a ton. 1, 2, 3 go the Reds. We're going extras in Cincinnati. Here we go to the 10th. Coco Cordero will stay in. He'll face Brad Hopp, the left-handed swinger. Hopp a walk, a bounce out, a fielder's choice, and a strikeout. Reds have been out hit 10-5, but homers by Nix, a 3-run shot, Votto a solo shot, have left him in a tie.
A rare 2-inning stint now for, or at least an attempted a 2-inning stint for Francisco Cordero. Had a very easy 9th inning where he only threw 16 pitches. They're going to run him out there this time for the first time this season for 2 innings.
I guess technically you'd say it's the first time, Chris, but that night in Washington, should that count as 2 innings?
2 innings.
Man.
I counted about 20 innings.
Oh boy. Was it 2 hours and how much rain delay? And he came back out. Look out. Inside, 1 ball, 2 strikes. A night to be forgotten. A little giddy up there.
Well, it's interesting because normally we see Francisco Cordero staying away from hitters this time in the game, but he's getting it all inside the kitchen, or attempting to Brad Hopp, just crowding him with that fastball.
You're right. It's been over a year. June the 4th of 2008. Last time he went more than an inning and third at Philadelphia. Full count. Got it. Steadily around 96, 97. Strikeout number 3.
Well, after a slider down and in, he goes to the fastball. Looks like a two-seamer with great run on, and it just runs right away from Brad Hoff, the lefty. 3 out of 4 outs recorded by strikeout now for Cordero.
Here's Tulowitzki. Troy bounced out, struck out, singled and scored in the 6th. Then he hit the go-ahead home run in the 8th. That came off Arthur Rhodes, gave the Rockies a 4-3 lead. Votto's homer then tied it. Had 20 home runs for the 2nd time in his career. 2 years ago, he had a career high 24 home runs. And last year, just an injury marred season. Pulled a quad muscle early, tried to play through it, eventually tore the quad muscle and spent a prolonged period of time on the disabled list. But he's come back 100% this year. Tricky hop handled by Rosales. 2 away. And here's the guy that looks a little more impressive every time you see him. Ian Stewart. He's taken over at third. And little by little, he's starting to take over at the plate, too. 18 home runs now. Number 18 came in the 4th, gave the Rockies a 1-0 lead, 430 feet to right. He singled in another run in the 6th and popped up to short in the 8th. He put on a heck of a display in batting practice. He had about a half a dozen homers, and one of them went over the bullpen and right, out to the walkway, and bounced out of the stadium. This is a group of Rockies hitters, not just with power, but with quick hands. Two balls, no strikes. Good eye, too. He takes that for a walk. So the 1st-round draft pick of the Rockies from 2003 marches down to first, and that'll bring up Chris Iannetta. Man, what a great season he's off to. Iannetta now with 12 homers, on the pace for a career high for him. He's heading towards a 20 home run season. He had a career high 65 runs batted in last year. He's at 40 already this year. 1 for 4 today. Steps out, takes a look at Rich Dower, rolls through some signs for him. Stewart has 7 stolen bases. He's been caught twice, and with Iannetta at the plate, they will hit and run with him from time to time if they can get ahead in the count. Runner not going here. He holds on it. All eyes on Rich Dower. Rolls 2 signs for Stewart down at first and Iannetta at the plate. To hold on it, can't do it. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Runner going up high, and he is out. Tag was high, but at second, Ed Rapuano said he got him. So Stewart is nailed. Hannigan bails out his pitcher. Another look. Going to the bottom of 10.
But the big one, of course, a 3-run home run by Lance Nix. So 4 runs on 5 hits for the Reds. They made the most of their knocks, and maybe they can get something going here in this inning and push that winning run across.
Well, Giannis has grabbed the bat with Coco Cordero due up second. Here comes Gonzalez to lead it off in the 8th spot as we go to the bottom of 10. And you saw, if you just joined us, you saw Scott Rowland left the game hit by a pitch that came in the 7th inning. He was hit in the head by a pitch from Jason Marquis. He left under his own power. He had his helmet on. It glanced off right above the left ear. He appeared to say to Dusty Baker, "I'm okay," and Dusty appeared to say to him, "We're not taking any chances." So he left the game, and Adam Rosales came in to replace him. We've had no further report from the Reds on his status, but he appeared to be okay as he left the ball game. Here's Alex, 0 for 3, 3 ground ball outs. Let's go back. The Reds would love to have another one of these. A big swing from Alex. A one-hopper to the wall. That was a walk-off win for the Reds as Paul Giannis scampered home back in May. Alex, 2 homers, 21 knocked in. Got the final out of the 9th inning, getting Lance Nix to fly to center field. He faces the first batter here of the 10th. I'll give you a bonus trivia question for today. When was the last time the Reds had a walk-off home run? It has been a while. Not this year. We haven't had any. We had some walk-off hits, but not home runs. Top foul and out of play. Go back a little over a year, June the 30th of 2008. It was Ken Griffey Jr. A walk-off homer against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Congratulations to Junior. Had a homer last night. He had a long homerless drought, but ripped the home run last night for Seattle. That's a walk to Gonzo.
Now that's a very fine at bat for Alex Gonzalez. He got down in the count early and kept battling away, fouling pitches off from Morales, and finally works a walk. Now with Paul Giannis out there, good handler of the bat, George, I think it's probably a no-brainer. Actually, it's Homer Bailey. It looked like Giannis coming out of the batter's box, so it's Bailey. So not only a no-brainer that he's going to bunt, but everybody in the ballpark knows what's going on.
Now the reality of it is for Dusty Baker, in an obvious bunt situation, I mean, Giannis and Tatum are the only two. He has Tavares left, but remember, Tavares has the bad left wrist, so it's unlikely he'll swing the bat. He might pinch run, but he probably won't swing the bat. So why waste a bat if this one's going to go another few innings? So it's Bailey's job to get the bunt down. We'll see if Homer can get it done. This would be a spot if Bronson Arroyo hadn't started where he would be the one called upon to drop the bunt down. That's a strike.
Well, if I'm the Colorado Rockies, I'm playing this absolutely as aggressively as possible. And Ian Stewart at third base is snugged way in. I mean, he's reminding us of Pete Rose and Mickey Rivers in the 1976 World Series. I mean, by the time that ball comes to home plate, Ian Stewart's only about 15 feet, 20 feet away from the plate. So Homer will be tempted to do a little slug action right here, but I'm not so sure he's confident enough to do that. Helton is charging too, but of course Helton has to stay at first base to hold the runner on. So Bailey's best shot is to try to get it down the first base line.
And keep in mind, Helton's one of the best defensive first basemen of this era. He's left-handed too. Easier to make the throw to second. So if you don't make it a perfect bunt, he'll still get the lead run. 1 ball, 1 strike. Pressure on Homer. Yesterday's starting pitcher went 5 1/3 innings, allowed 7 hits and 5 runs in the losing effort against the Rockies. Homer, 1 sacrifice so far this season here at the major league level. That's a strike. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Well, you know, one of the problems that Homer has right there, he's not close enough to home plate because he can't reach that pitch on the outer part of the plate the way he chokes up on the bat. He's up in the batter's box, but the other thing you ought to do is get a little closer to the dish.
That'll do it. It'll be a strikeout. So the inability to advance the runner here in the 10th inning, for the moment at least, sidetracks the Reds. Dusty flashing his signs. Top of the order, Drew Sutton coming up. So Gonzalez still anchored down at first, 1 away, and here comes Sutton. Sutton got the first 2 hits for the Reds in the 1st and 3rd inning. Reds didn't have another hit until a double by Phillips in the 7th.
You hit and run Sutton right here?
Unlikely.
I mean, the Reds absolutely have to have that runner at second base.
Hannigan on deck. Massett loosening in the bullpen. Hit hard right at Tulowitzki. 6-4-3. That'll do it. 58th double play for the Rockies gets them out of trouble in the 10th. To the 11th we go. for the Reds. Nick Massett will be the new pitcher for Cincinnati as we go to the top of the 11th. Massett, 40th appearance of the year. He'll face Chris Iannetta, who was at the plate when Stewart was tossed out trying to steal at second base. So Iannetta, Quintanilla, Iannetta, Gonzalez, and Quintanilla. Rather, Iannetta, Quintanilla, and then the top of the order, Fowler.
Yeah, Massett pitched a couple of innings on Friday night. 2 innings of shutout baseball. Did strike out a couple of batters, lowering his opponent batting average down to 177.
Here's Iannetta, 3 fly balls to left and a single back in the 8th inning. The Reds are fortunate to have a young catcher like Ryan Hannigan, who's really applies himself day in and day out. And you talked to Bobby Apodaca and Jim Tracy, same thing for this guy. Studies the pitchers, studies the scouting report, and you only have to tell him once. Yeah, he's a pretty smart kid. He went to North Carolina, was an All-American there. Not like he's a rockhead, and you need that. And same thing with Ryan Hannigan. You go through the scouting report once and you quiz him on it, he's not going to make any mistakes.
Yeah, you know, he was the first one down in spring training. Every time they went through signs, defensive signs, that they were flashed to catchers, and they asked you, okay, what do we put on? He's the first one to have his hand up. So you're saying the tools of ignorance do not apply to these two?
I guess they call it tools of ignorance because it's such a tough position to play. And why would you be ignorant enough to go back there? But you can't win without a good catcher.
You're right. Of course, many of them are ignorant enough to go out and take a managerial job. See, pitchers don't do that for the most part.
Now, what does that tell you? That pitchers are smarter or that they can't manage?
I would say the former, not the latter.
2 balls, 2 strikes.
I thought that was a rhetorical question, right?
Wide at third, that's going to go through.
Well, it looked like on that particular play, the third baseman, Adam Rosales, gave up on it a little bit, thinking that maybe Alex Gonzalez would be able to get to it. Gonzalez was playing well off the bag right there and looked like he had a chance to make an angle at it as his ball goes up in between third and short and just kind of pulls up on it. Not to say he would be able to make the play anyway, but I think he misgauged where Gonzalez was playing.
Here's Carlos Gonzalez. Boy, he's killed the Reds this whole series. 3 more hits and an intentional walk today. In the series, 6 hits. Now we'll see what Jim Tracy does. He can bunt. They can hit and run. A number of alternatives with this guy at the plate.
You know, how often do you say it's the number 8 hitter that killed your team during a 3-game series? On a 1 game, yes. You know, everybody's bound to have a great game. This guy's had a very fine series.
First game of the series, 2 hits, including a home run. In an 8th inning when Iannetta and Gonzalez each homered to give the Rockies a 5-3 lead in a game they won 5-3. In the dirt, going to second, Iannetta. Boy, great break by Iannetta. He took a great secondary lead, and when the ball hit the turf, he was off and running to second. Never missed a break. That's just a great instinctive play. Watch the secondary lead. Now watch him go. That's instincts. You don't have to be the smartest or the fastest, but you got to have baseball instincts, and he's got them. So now the go-ahead runs at second. Still nobody out, and let's see if they bunt him over. Wild pitch allows the runner to go ahead. Showing bunt. Nobody at third. That'll get the runner over. He did the right thing. Gonzalez forces the third baseman to make the play. Easily moving to third. That'll force the Reds to bring the infield in. But Jim Tracy's got the go-ahead run 90 feet away with 1 out.
Boy, having a pretty good series, Gonzalez is. He originally was an Arizona Diamondback player. In fact, the Diamondbacks at one time had projected their outfield to be Justin Upton, Carlos Gonzalez, and Carlos Quinton. As it turned out, the general manager Josh Burns traded 2 of those guys away.
And don't forget about the bunt here. Quintanilla is an outstanding bunter with the runner down at third.
Yeah, but with a left-hander up there, that's awfully easy to pitch out on a suicide squeeze and still get the runner at the plate. If you pitch out with a right-hander up there, sometimes you let that runner steal home.
Omar in at 176. First at bat after coming in on the double switch. And Hannigan doesn't like what he's seeing. They'll go back up, check on the signs, and start from scratch again.
You may be looking at a strange call from Hannigan right here, saying do you remember what the sign is for a pitch out? Or there may be a modified pitch out sign that they want to give, where you throw the ball up and into a left-hander.
Chris Spire calling the defensive signs. And at a short lead off third. Rich Dower right next to him. Infield in, edge of the grass. In the on deck circle, the speedy Dexter Fowler. Runner holding. Phillips will get the out. Second out of the inning. Now they can drop the infield back. There comes Fowler, and the pressure he brings to the plate is more than anything else his speed. Even a routine ground ball, if it's not fielded cleanly, he has the speed to beat it out. And he has the speed to beat out a bunt too, and he's a pretty good bunter. So just in case, in tight at third is Rosales, right side of the infield back. That's a little low. Dexter came in defensively to play center field. When the Rockies got the lead, he was up once. He struck out against Coco Cordero. That was in the 9th inning. Left center field, going over Nix, reaching up, he won't get there. Fowler will get 2 easily, and that'll get the go-ahead run. And he's around second, going to third, and he's going to be in there. Boy, did he turn on the Jets after second. It looked like he'd settled for 2, and when he got a good look at Nix, he turned on the Jets and gobbled up big-time ground. So he's at third with a triple. And the Rockies have a lead.
He just kind of guides that ball out there in the left center field, and the ball looked like it took on some extra life as Lance Nix can't run it down. Fowler with big long strides. He just cruises around second base right there. Even with a little bit of a slip, he's able to get into third ahead of the throw, and a triple that drives a go-ahead run in. Man, oh man.
So Iannetta rolls home with the go-ahead run, and the Reds are trailing again. They've been out hit 12-5. They now trail at 5-4 in the 11th. And here comes Garrett Atkins to pinch hit in the pitcher spot, the number 2 spot. Off the end of the bat, Gonzalez over, gloves it, the flip, and not in time, and a run will score. Joe West, a long look at the foot and the glove, and here comes Dusty Baker. He'll argue it.
Well, Alex Gonzalez didn't put a lot on that throw. I don't know whether he couldn't get a lot on the throw because he was kind of running at the time he threw the ball, or whether he thought he had a lot more time. Take another look at it. Gonzalez fields the ball almost behind the second base bag. He just kind of flips it over there. Now maybe that's all he could get on that throw. Bang, bang at first base. Dusty Baker doesn't like it. Let's take a closer look.
Very close. Dusty's still arguing. He'll get no. Salas. It looks like he got him. It looks like just by the slimmest of margins, just before the foot taps the bag. And you know, Chris, remember, Gonzalez is playing, but I think the other side of it is that elbow still from the surgery. I haven't seen him make that play as he made it earlier in the year since he came back.
You're right.
You know, I mean, that's a play that when he's healthy 100%, he'll unleash it towards first. That was just a quick flip.
Well, if he's not healthy, why is he in the lineup?
So an insurance run, and it's now 6-4. That goes as an infield hit. Again, a day where the Reds battle back to tie it, but now in extra innings they trail again 6-4. Here's Todd Helton, base hit back in the 6th. 1 for 5 on the afternoon. That base hit stretched his hitting streak to 8 straight. Here's the closer, Houston Street. He is loosened and ready to go in the bullpen. Runner going, popped up left side. Rosales from foul into fair territory. He'll haul it in, but the damage done. A leadoff base hit, a wild pitch, a sacrifice, a triple and a single, and Colorado leads 6-4.
I'll tell you what, if you look at it over and over again, it still appears that he's out. Dusty Baker had a good argument right there, although Joe West made the call and meant another run for the Rockies, and they lead by 2. The Reds need a couple just to tie this baby up.
So here we go to the bottom of the 11th. Ryan Hannigan will lead it off, and here's the birthday boy, Houston Street, celebrating his 26th birthday today. And boy, what a year he's had. 27 of 28 in save opportunities, or the earn run average at 2.4. Here's his 48th appearance of the season, trying to close it out in the 11th.
Hard to believe that Houston Street is only 26 years old. It seems like he's been around 7 years.
At 27 total ties him for the lead in the National League for saves. Both he and Coco Cordero have only had one blown save this year.
His first year in the major leagues was 4 years ago, and he was a closer in that year with the Oakland A's. Saved 23 of 20 save opportunities, or 23 of 27 save opportunities.
And how does that compare? Well, when you look at it, he now has 121 saves all told. That's fourth most all time by a player before the age of 26. So if he keeps on the track that he's on, he'll be in rarefied air. I mean, it's a long way to compare him to the likes of Lee Smith or Bruce Sutter or Goose Gossage or John Franco, up the list all the way to the current all-time save leader, Trevor Hoffman. We know that Mariano Rivera is heading to the Hall of Fame, so is Hoffman. But the line for save leaders and the Hall of Fame is somewhat clouded after the nature of the way the game has changed. I mean, Goose Gossage and Bruce Sutter and the like would pitch 2, 3, 4 innings sometimes. Now you very seldom, as we chronicle with Coco or with all the save leaders of today, very seldom do you pitch more than an inning. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Interesting, you and I have talked about it a lot off the air. Lee Smith, who was the all-time save leader, he was surpassed now. Swing and a miss. Hannigan retired. First out of the 11th. He's only gotten about 25 or 30% of the vote so far. He'll be on the ballot for I think about another 10 years. But is he a Hall of Famer in your boat?
I think he is. Yeah. I mean, I don't understand. I mean, is he going to get better in the next 10 years?
Yeah, that's right. Just like Jim Rice. I mean, Jim said, I haven't gotten any more runs batted in. I haven't gotten any more home runs than I had when my first year of eligibility was up. That's a bouncer. Knocked down by Helton, and they'll get the out. That's Gold Glove caliber every night from Todd Helton. He robs Joey Votto of a potential base hit, and there's your second out of the inning.
Boy, that ball looked like it had right field written all over it. When it came off the bat of Joey Votto, he thought it was a base hit. There's Helton with a diving stab. Nice defensive play there. The Rockies, they didn't exactly tear the cover off the ball in this series. They scored 11 runs the first 2 games total, and they've scored 6 runs today. So they've done okay offensively, but boy, defensively, they have been a very good-looking ball club.
I think the best defensive team we've seen this year has been Philadelphia. I mean, they were outstanding.
They may be the best offensive team, too.
Yeah, and now probably the best starting pitching, too, in the acquisition of Lee. But the way this team has come together, the Rockies defensively, they're probably the most improved defensive team that we've seen this year. I mean, they're solid. Swing and a miss from Brandon. So Votto's retired. He has a 1-for-4 day, including his 17th homer that tied the game in the 8th. Here's Brandon, who's 1-for-4, a double in the 7th. No balls, 2 strikes. That'll do it. Well, Houston Street celebrates his birthday, and Dusty Baker just bows his head and shakes it a bit. Jim Tracy will